we're recording on Zencaster, right?
Gotta change windows. Yeah, it looks like it for 1:03.
Okay, cool. So, right, we have started, I hope. Hello,
I hope so.
everybody. You are listening to an episode of Somehow You Didn't Die on Your Way to Work, a transit industry safety podcast. Zach, you need to say something.
Something. I thought you were gonna start the intro with yourself.
No. Did not occur to me to that. I had a different thought process already in process.
Professionals.
Uh-huh.
But hi, everybody. I'm Zach. That's Joe. We're here to give you the episode that almost broke us today.
It broke you a lot more than it broke me, but this
It
was
did
not
break
easy.
me.
This was
It did
not
break me pretty bad.
this was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. Let's see. Let's go on to the next slide. This is the episode that we promised you, the 2025 Potomac Midair Collision. I would like to go out first and say that I thought that this would be a fairly easy to read NTSB report based off of the one that we had done for OC Transpo. It was not. I did reach out to a couple people I knew, one of whom did respond and said it's not any more difficult than any other ones they've read. I read it.
They're liars.
It really did seem like this was written in the middle of the government shutdown by someone who didn't care that much. It was. It really did not.
This is the worst composed NTSB report in existence. The summary is like 200 something pages in. I don't remember how many.
Mm-hmm. It was not good. It was not well composed. I really like at points like the Wikipedia article was more helpful. And I think that if I hadn't actively been here the entire time this accident, like from minute 0 of the accident on to now, I would not have been able to understand what happened in this accident.
Page 220. This is the fucking Columbo episode of NTSB reports.
It's not even a Columbo, because Columbo, yeah, I guess it is like Columbo, because you saw how it happened.
Yeah, you know what happens.
So it's just, they really obfuscated it a lot more than it should have been. And I don't, if you happen to have read this, or you work for the NTSB, please leave a comment with your thoughts in the comment section below, or respond to us in an email at syddowtw@gmail.com.
Tell us what happened when this was being written. I really want to know.
Yeah, I apologize. This sounds a little out of place, but it's just like this broke us. This broke Zach especially.
We had a long and hard conversation about what this was doing to me and how it started to feel like a job.
Yeah, he hit me with the "Are you still having fun?" question. I'm like, are we not?
I was not trying to sift through this. I cannot overstate enough how much of a nightmare this is for somebody who probably has wildly unchecked ADHD.
Oh dear. Yeah, this was not good. This was bad.
Oh, and then I ran out of paper, so I couldn't resort to my usual thing where, like, I'd print out certain portions and focus on that. And you can't get distracted by paper. I couldn't do that.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't think it was going to be this bad.
Well, to be quite frank, neither did I.
So anyways, with that in mind, keep in mind, just to point out, we will probably start doing more old-ass disasters, because those were written with sense involved.
Joe, really quickly.
Yeah?
Is your gain turned up? Your waveform is fucking spiking.
I have no idea. I have changed absolutely nothing.
We're using the same software that doesn't have a setting for gain. Oh, Zencaster, please don't shit on us this time. Help us out and normalize this.
I normalize things in the edit anyways, but I try to.
Godspeed.
It sometimes works. If anybody has a suggestion for an easy-to-use editing software that doesn't make me pay for it in a subscription, please let me know. I'll probably ignore it, but I'd like to know their options.
Oh,
Uh,
if it works, I'd even pay a little something for it,
but
depending on what they ask.
yeah, depending on what they ask. Right now, I'm using a copy of Vegas Pro I got in a Humble Bundle like 7 years ago.
Holy shit!
But
All right,
anyways,
we got
on to
some
the
news,
next
huh?
slide. On to the next slide. Why am
It's
there we?
it's
Oh,
been a busy 3 weeks.
yes, it has. It's been so much. So first, we're going into the news brief, which I'm not going to obey any timer for this because we just have to get through this, and it's not going to help with any of the rest of the news slides. So,
No.
number one, over here, this video on the 27th of February, a tram in Milan, Italy crashed, killing 2 people. I have not yet looked into any details about this. I believe the driver had some sort of medical event, but let's hit the video and see if we can identify what happened.
Uh, let's see.
I think that
Well,
the
there's your
tram
problem.
was
That
going.
building got in the way.
I think the tram was going a little too quickly.
Might have been.
Um,
He was just trying to give express service. I'm sure.
yes, express service directly to your bank, drive-through service, or. But anyways, the next thing right here. This is a follow-up to the news items from last time. Uh, it turns out that the guy in charge of the Ambassador Bridge, his name is Maroon. I'm going to pronounce it moron because I don't like him. Donated $1 million to a Trump supporting super PAC, and then magically Donald Trump created some issues for the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge in Detroit and Windsor. This is not shocking. The guy who owns the Ambassador Bridge is an asshole. And personally, I would have charged more money before blocking that bridge, but that's just me. I'm not a billionaire businessman in charge of the United States. So who knows? Um, Next thing down here, February 26th, Amtrak is officially giving up on its plan for any new bi-levels. They're going to an all single level fleet going forward.
I was wondering about some of their accessibility plans for new bi-levels. It seemed like a lot of extra moving parts that if they worked, they'd be great, but if they broke, it'd be bad.
This is all because that one car manufacturer in like 2009 tried to build the bi-level and fucked it up so bad with the buff strength tests that they just
Oh, I forgot about that.
completely turned Amtrak off of
Oh,
any
God.
new coaches whatsoever. Although keep in mind, if we do the thing from last episode, and there's now like a rolling stock operating company and an operations company and an infrastructure company, we might be seeing superliners up until the 2050s anyway. So who cares?
Yeah.
It's not. This is like glacial movement sort of pace here. So nothing to be too concerned about anyways, unless you really, really like superliners.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah, I mean they're cool.
They're
They're not
sentimental.
going. They're not going away anytime soon.
Oh, God, no.
Next one down here. Next one right here. Brightline has apparently killed its 200th person, and Florida celebrated by baking it a cake. I believe this.
I want to know who that was.
I hope this
that
photo
made
was
that cake.
I hope this photo was taken on the train. It doesn't look like it.
No, I
it
see like a
was.
little cat hutch over there.
Yeah. That is the appropriate. That is a mostly appropriate level of celebration for this, because we talked about Brightline all the way back in episode 4, 3, 3.
Maybe
It was
3.
3. That was the one that we talked about grade crossings.
Yeah, so bear in mind the if you ever see a grade crossing that's in a quiet zone that has like the 4 gates all around and it's very obvious when a train is coming up, that's where these people keep getting killed. Either that or that one in the golf course.
Or they walk across the tracks and just don't look with their headphones on and everything, which don't do that. I understand that it's more convenient, but you will die.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Florida living up to Florida man lore.
Yeah. Let's see. Going on to this one down here. It happened again, but you can see the little thing here in the eye has changed. Now it's the DOD. The DOD shot down a Customs and Border Patrol Predator drone that was doing surveillance missions over the border because they thought it was a cartel drone.
Good.
They shot it down with a different laser, I would like to point out.
Oh, cool. So I've got 2 lasers I can get.
Yes, out by El Paso, presumably pissing off the FAA again, but they did not, in this case, shut off the airspace like they did last time. Um, moving on further, this one down here, another callback. Ha 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 ha. West Coast Railways continues to cry about how it's getting canceled due to its own actions because it still won't install um, locking doors in its coaches, and so the Jacobite is being threatened again with not running this year. I think they're leasing coaches from somebody else. They're very bad. Do not ride with them.
It it's really not worth supporting that guy. Holy shit, he's so bad.
Mm-hmm. This next one, which is this video down here, I'm gonna play the video and then I'll tell you what happened in it.
Oh yeah.
That is not supposed to happen, and that motorbike got missed miraculously.
It looks like both of them did.
Yeah. So I was talking more about the one on the left, but yeah. So what happened here is that a Bolivian Air Force C-130 was carrying banknotes that hadn't yet been introduced into circulation to the city of El Alto. If you've never heard of El Alto, don't be alarmed. I hadn't either. Apparently, the capital city of La Paz, Bolivia, is located at the bottom of a plateau, and El Alto is on the top of the plateau immediately next to it. The cities have sort of like commingled right up the side of the plateau towards each other, so they're basically one city at this stage. Um, it was the C-130 was landing at the what's at whatever the central airport in El Alto is, and it crashed because it was enormously overloaded. Um, I don't I don't have an exact figure of how heavy it was, but El Alto is over 4,000 meters above sea levels. That does limit performance quite a bit. Um, banknotes were strewn all over the place, leading
Oh,
to a momentary currency crisis because basically the Central Bank of Bolivia decided that no banknotes with these serial numbers are going to be allowed to be used anymore. So because they hadn't been put into circulation yet. So you get these really interesting things on the like on the Wikipedia page of a printed out piece of paper in a taxi saying we won't accept bills of these denominations with these serial numbers. Very interesting how that's going. This would be a more of a nothing burger, except that 24 people died in this accident and 43 or more were injured.
I
Because
mean,
it
it landed right next, or I say landed, but it struck ground right next to the road. Did it? It looked
it
like it was open field
no,
on the other side of that
it
road, though.
skidded off the runway and then crashed into buildings and cars.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, that'll do it.
yeah, there were a couple people on board, and then most of the fatalities were on the ground. Um,
Okay,
yeah, it's not good. Then moving on, right here. This building is next door to Glasgow Central Station, and it forced the closure of Glasgow Central Station for several days after a vape shop caught the entire place on fire. I am
I want to say this as somebody who does vape. I hate vapors that just use the disposable vapes because that's almost certainly what sparked this fire was a cheap ass disposable vape that had a probably an unregulated lithium ion battery, and once those things start burning, you're not stopping it.
yes. No, these were very bad, and it. I heard that one, whatever the noise was.
My bad. That was a bottle opener falling.
Well, we know that NVIDIA broadcast is good, but not great. And then, anyways, we have some new news, recent breaking news. So
Literally had to cram them in up there.
On March 17th, not Comeback anymore, Fire Crown Publishing, the new owner of the Trains magazine sphere of publications, decided unilaterally that Classic Trains magazine is no more. This is not ideal because they didn't inform the people at Classic Trains when they were putting together the last issue of Classic Trains.
What turned out to be the last issue.
Yes. And more to the point, Classic Trains is a quarterly. It comes out 4 times a year. So if you can't really afford to put in a quarterly magazine, then you are kind of getting into the shit here. I know some people at some other railfan publications who are like, they might not have long left. There are
Yeah, I
certain
wouldn't be surprised if this is the start of the end
for Trains,
for
yeah,
Trains magazine.
because right now they're shoving at least one Classic Trains content piece into regular Trains every year, which will bump it up to about 78 pages, they were saying. I would like to point out that Railfan and Railroad for this month, the month of April, is currently at 85 pages and has been for some time. The guys at Railfan and Railroad are also great. I'm friends with a couple of them on Instagram. I chat with them. They're very nice people. The
Go
authors are
go
usually
go back and look at the parting shot in the June 2024 issue of Railfan and Railroad, and you'll see uh, why I'm more partial to that magazine.
yeah, and also the guys at Railfan and Railroad within minutes of this coming out had Instagram stories out on everything they were associated with saying buy our magazine instead. Or
Yeah, like we're not going anywhere.
they're also if you're into the Classic Trains thing specifically, the Center of Railfan Photography and Art is a great place. There's a quarterly magazine and also supports a lot of other like foamer photography interests. They have their own magazine. They put out a Instagram story within half an hour because most of their people are also either regular contributors or on the editing staff of of not train of Railfan and Railroad. So I'm waiting for it to become Railfan and Railroad and Trains, provided that Firecrown doesn't just take the Trains logo and slap it onto like a tab on its FreightWaves website, which would be awful. But
That's they're probably gonna do that.
yeah, I
They're
would.
gonna try to retain the branding and keep people reading who are dedicated to the brand,
No
even
one
if
is
it is just
dedicated
like
to
a
the
little
brand.
snippet.
No one is that dedicated to the brand. I know people in this community. Everyone's not thrilled about it.
But
For
there are those people
yes,
who started reading Trains and then read Railfan and Railroad and went, no, I like Trains better, and have been stuck with that since 1962.
yes. Um,
Well,
I
no,
also
that would have
like
been before the
Railfan and
merger. Huh?
Railfan and Railroad only became a merged magazine in the 90s, I think. But
I
anyways,
was about to say, yeah, that joke doesn't work
um,
anymore.
if you would if you were interested in what Trains magazine will probably look like, go read Flying Magazine or Yacht Trader, which are some of Firecrown's other imprints, which notably are devoted to people with above 6-figure incomes. And I'm not really sure what they're trying to do with Trains, which is devoted to people who don't have 6-figure incomes, if I may speak broadly on behalf of the railfan community.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
we're in this because it's a lot cheaper to go out and take pictures of trains than it is to own one. That's why we take
no, I'm in
pictures
this
of
because there's
trains.
something wrong with me. That's completely different. There's, but anyways, speaking of something wrong with you, we have to go on to the next thing here because this is this is a sign that something has gone horribly wrong. So on the 22nd of February, an incident occurred that no one could really make sense of, where Arlo Guthrie's, the city of New Orleans, was impacted by a Canadian national train operating, I guess, legally as an Illinois Central because it's still an Illinois Central trackage because of how CN bought everything in Memphis. And it was impacted by a train like that, caused like 2 injuries. And nothing really was damaged, it looked like. Nobody could figure out what had happened. And the NTSB has come out with a preliminary report, which is that a CN intermodal train um, left a cut of cars out on the main line, backed up to pick up more cars in the intermodal yard, did a blind shove back towards their 21 rail cars that they left on the main. And I guess the city of New Orleans had
Well,
been allowed to come directly up behind it. And then they just kept shoving and smashed into the city of New Orleans, which
no,
is,
hang on. It was slightly different. They so the entrance to the yard is a Y. Conductor picked up the cars in the yard. They came back out to the main line. Conductor shoved back to where they had staged up cars on the main, hooked it up, knocked the handbrakes off, and then basically told the engineer, "All right, I'm in the clear. You're good for 100 back for a pickup." And then they bonked into Amtrak.
But
And they felt the impact.
they thought there was something wrong, and they
They
went
thought
back
that
and did
maybe
it
they
again.
hadn't charged up the brakes enough, or the air to release the brakes enough, and there's still some set, and that's what they had hit, was brakes still set, and then bonked Amtrak again.
Yes, they they hit him twice.
Which I want to see this one when the NTSB report comes out, because my biggest question is what was the train control system like? Was it track warrant? Was it signals? Was this like other than Maine right here? There's ways this could have happened. There's ways this guy thought he could have been working fully within the rules and wasn't. There's ways he could have been and Amtrak wasn't. I'm very curious to see what happens.
I would love to see the in-cab footage from the Amtrak train, like just the yelling and shouting.
Hey,
So
what's that? Hey, what's that?
thunk,
Oh shit! They're gonna hit us! They're gonna hit us! Bonk!
and then yelling on the radio, thunk. Okay, this is personal now. But that concludes our news brief. Now we have to go on to a new thing that we're hopefully not going to do frequently, called news
The
medium.
last 3 weeks have been packed.
News medium. So we're going to go from left to right. So Chuck Norris has announced that he is making a remake of Hellbound. It is going to be made on location in the pits of hell. He will be filming there for the next couple of years, and my grandfather is very excited to see how this plays out, because my grandfather is of course dead, and so is Chuck Norris. But anyways,
All the Chuck Norris jokes have been proven wrong.
well, we don't know that Chuck Norris didn't just go down to hell to see what it was like.
Just went down for shits and giggles. All right.
Next, this was, of course, on March 20th, which was yesterday, because it is the 21st today, and I definitely know what day it is. Anyways, this center thing. So, within the last couple of weeks in the state of Ohio, it has been 70 degrees and sunny. It has been 10 degrees and snowing. It has been 35-mile-an-hour straight line winds with gusts up to 80. There has been a siege. There's been a snow squall. There's been a dust storm. There have been microbursts, flash
What is
floodings.
the siege?
The siege is when the water blows out of Lake Erie. I told you about that in the Edmund Fitzgerald episode. Remember?
Oh my god!
It happens because of
No, I
straight line
forgot
winds.
because yeah, I forgot because that's so weird.
I don't know where the earthquake thing in this Facebook post came from, nor do I know about where the tornado was, but I'm assuming that could have happened. And then, if you'll notice up at the top, asteroid explosion. That sounds like a joke. No, it wasn't. On the 17th of March, at 9 o'clock in the morning, almost to the dot, people from as far away as Port Clinton to Youngstown were woken out of bed or sent screaming outside of their house to see if a tree had fallen, because an asteroid traveled across Lake Erie towards Medina County, traveling south at 40,000 miles an hour in the upper atmosphere, and then exploded, sending chunks of asteroid debris raining down over rural Medina County.
I mean,
And
think of all the cool jewelry you're going to get out of this, though.
possibly, but I would just like to point out that an asteroid exploded over the state, and nobody is that surprised by it,
To
because if that's
quote
how weird the
former-
weather has been.
To quote former President W. Bush, missed me.
Yes, I thought that was Reagan who did missed me. That was when a balloon.
I think they both did. Yeah, Reagan did it with the balloon. I thought somebody like threw another shoe at Bush as a joke, and he did the missed me.
I don't know about that one.
I
I
could
also-
be. I try to forget those two bastards. So
I
could
also
be conflating
don't know
them.
where unconfirmed Bigfoot sightings came from, but I'm not going to doubt that.
I
I
mean-
mean it seriously. With the exception
You
of
want to go up there and try to find it?
Bigfoot tornado and earthquakes, every single thing in this chart happened to me within 2 weeks. So, like, we had, like, 4 trees come down on my parents' in my parents' yard. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oof.
Anyways, Zach, what's this other thing over here?
So I just wanted to throw this in to show that the weather has been weird everywhere. We went from a low at 0800 on Monday the 16th of 34 degrees up to a high, which is actually probably right about now, right outside this window behind me, of 94 degrees.
That
And
sounds rough, buddy.
it, I mean, it's not an asteroid falling on my head, but the swing is weird. Oh, you also have to remember that last week it was like in the high 70s, low 80s, and then it dipped down to this weird cold, and now it's back up to almost summer temperatures in March.
It was
But
70 and sunny today, and it's going to be, like, 65 and rainy tomorrow, and then it's gonna be 30 on Monday.
remember, climate change isn't real. These wild swings have always happened.
Yeah, it's
And it's
all
not the fact that this is the third time it's happened this year. It's just that this is the most extreme one.
I
But
would
climate
like to
change
say,
isn't real.
what climate change caused the asteroid? I'm very interested to hear about that. What do we have to do to change space weather?
Oh, that one was just bad luck. You're shit out of luck.
Yeah. Anyways, talking about shit out of luck, let's go on to the next slide.
Mm. It's time to do a little update on the proposed Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern merger.
This is not the Union Pacific Norfolk Southern merger. I hate to break it to you.
It is well. Let's see how it ties in. All right, let me land it. Let me land it. All right. So we are in the year 2026. The what do they call it? It's America's semi-sesquicentennial.
It's
I
America
believe it is.
250. I don't give a
Yeah,
shit what it's called.
America's 250 years old. So just like how in 1976 several locomotives did, or several railroads did very patriotic paint schemes for the
Some of them are
bicentennial of America.
some of them are still around now.
Yeah. Similarly, for 250 years, we have several railroads doing special paint schemes for this. First off, we have the Nevada Northern Railway has this pretty cool looking SD9. Got the paint scheme was chosen by a contest. Several different artists provided paint schemes, and they are voted on in a very oddly democratic way, considering that this is a railroad owned by a couple of boomers, effectively.
Yeah.
But they've
It
got this
looks
one.
nice.
You know what? I do like this one. I like pinstripe. I'm always a sucker for any kind of pinstriping like
It's the
that.
most 70s one of the lot, which I like because it looks
Yes,
like
it is.
from America
Yes, it is.
from America to 200 as opposed to 250.
Yes, and I am also a big fan of the quasi shield that's up there above the headlights,
Yeah.
where the old headlights got blanked out. That is a
Yeah.
very nice touch. I do like that.
Yeah.
Let's look at this next one.
Hey,
Joe,
wait,
this one's local to you.
where's my
Yeah,
photo of this?
there's the
Where the fuck
Wheeling and
is my
Lake
photo
Erie.
of this, Zach?
I don't I don't know.
Click the
I
next
couldn't
button
find
for
it
me.
quickly.
There's my photo of it, you jackass.
Oh, but the other one shows it better.
No, it doesn't. I
right.
took this one.
The Wheeling and Lake Erie unit is another good one that has a slightly different feel to it. It's got the stripes for the flag on the nose. It's got the 13 stars around 1776 on the side of the cab. They used locomotive number 1776, or did they renumber one?
They renumbered one of their SD40s are in the 6 to 7,000 range. They renumbered this one specifically.
Okay, so look, they're going all in on it.
Yeah.
They still have their logo worked into it tastefully.
Yeah.
I like that.
I know the guy who designed it. It's very good.
Yeah. What's the next one?
We have the Canadians have done it.
Yes, actually, both Canadian railroads have done this. I only included one though from the CPKC.
Yeah.
They have an interesting, not bad, but an interesting interpretation. It has some stripes towards the back, towards the radiators.
It actually looks like their own livery with the colors swapped.
Yeah, kind of.
Which is, it works.
I think both this one and the Nevada Northern unit are bravely painted for having everything below the frame painted blue, which is going to be an absolute nightmare to keep looking good.
Yeah.
But when it's clean, it does look
Yeah.
good. Um, what's the Union Pacific doing? Take a look at that next one. So,
Oh, this is fucking awful.
so recently, the Union Pacific finally acknowledged the fact that having an American flag on their locomotives that was constantly getting dirty and looking awful was not a good move.
No, that's not
So
why they
they've
changed it. They changed it because they
oh
don't maintain their locomotives and the turbocharger fires burn it.
yeah, that's also. I mean, they're both true. It was a compound thing, but definitely the turbochargers burning the flag was a driving factor. So they stopped painting locomotives with that. Now it's just a big yellow field that says Union Pacific in it, except for the one locomotive that was already numbered 1776 gets the flag sticker again, and then it also gets a little sticker on the nose that says America 250, which is the official logo of the
Yeah.
semi whatever it is.
Semi-sesquicentennial. I also would like to point out, just in case anybody doesn't know this, the whole reason they put flags on the side of the locomotives is because of 9/11.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
that
not
is
even like a joke. They
no,
legit did that.
yeah, that's where it all started. They started in the weird patriotic fervor after 9/11.
Yeah, this
They
is like
started putting the
2002.
flags on there.
This is 2002, the locomotive.
Um, so
Not to
shortly,
be
that's the only
confused with
thing.
UP 2002, the Olympic locomotive, which
No,
looks
that one's
great
rad.
and is still in service, still in paint.
It's fantastic. I love that one.
Yeah, I do too.
But
Um,
what else are they doing for patriotism? Let's take a look at that next one. And oh no, oh no, the actual semi 250 scheme. What should have been the 250 scheme is now Union Pacific 4547, dedicated to Donald J. Trump. Now,
yes.
I can hear some people right now, but wait, they already have locomotives uh, dedicated to former presidents, and I'm going to point out the word "former" to it. 4141, the George H.W. Bush locomotive, was painted up well after he left office,
It
and it
was
was
while his son was
matched.
in office, though.
Yes, it was. I'm gonna go ahead and pass that one over
It does
because
the
it was also for the opening of the H.W.
Yeah,
Bush Library down in College
yes.
Station.
It also, I would like to point out, looked good because it looked like Air Force One.
Air Force. Well, we're gonna get to that.
I know. I
We're
know,
gonna get to
trust me.
that. So there's also the Abraham Lincoln locomotive, which was
I
last year, which
It
is
was
definitely
earlier this
well
year, I
after.
thought.
One or the other. I can't
It's
remember.
inexplicable Abraham Lincoln
No,
locomotive, which
no, it was last year because I remember talking about it in the UP yard, and I haven't been there this year.
okay.
And
Inexplicable UP Abraham Lincoln locomotive because,
well, that
yeah,
that tied
it
into
was
the
with
the
the
Golden Spike.
Transcontinental Railroad, but also
Yeah,
it's like 200 years ago at this point almost. 100 and
yeah,
something.
yeah. And now we've got the Donald J. Trump 4547, and this is the one that should be the 250 unit because the flag design
Is
has a
actually
big.
not bad.
Yeah, what the conductor side of the locomotive has a big flowing American flag that has the 13 stars in a circle for the original US flag. The other side has a similar design, except it uh, has the flag that has 50 stars on it for our current flag. Um, if it wasn't that number and it didn't say Donald J. Trump on the side, I'd be like, you know what, the front of it's kind of boring, but this is all right. But they had the only reason anybody can figure why we're getting a locomotive for Donald J. Trump is it's more brown nosing from the Union Pacific CEO, Jim Vina.
Yes.
And this is just one in a series of actions he has taken, including asking Donald Trump to deploy ICE to Los Angeles because they're tired of their trains getting robbed out there
And Memphis, I think,
and
too,
Memphis.
because Jim
Um,
Vina is a former secretary of FedEx, head of FedEx.
yes.
Secretary of
And
FedEx, yeah, right.
the the overall scheme of the locomotive, apart from the flag, was very specifically chosen because it is the new paint scheme that Trump wants to put on Air Force One. It's
Yeah.
just that a big field of white, a medium red stripe, thin white stripe, and then blue field for the
And the
bottom
gold
quarter.
stripe. That's
That's
not
right. I
just
forgot the gold stripes on
yeah,
there too. I couldn't remember if that was
that's not
reflective tape or
reflective
not.
tape. No, that's Trump has that on there too.
Yep. So the next picture should show you what it is actually saying to all of us. I'm sorry, I don't know who made this. I wish I could give you proper credit. I am not including the other pictures that have been circulating, including
Yeah.
one where the American flag is just replaced with an Israeli flag.
I don't like
There's
that
one
one.
where
That one feels weird. That one feels like it's, like, almost on the, like, where are we going with
it
that one, guys?
yeah, I can kind of get it considering recent events, but also what's kind of lingering
It's
under there.
it's pushing
Uh,
the "let me be discriminatory in public" button. Yeah.
yeah, but then what's not? What
Yeah.
you can definitely get behind is the one that just has Epstein's face on the side
Yeah,
of it.
that one's funny. That one's funny.
That one's amazing. I will say that the Israeli one, like if I just saw that on a piece of Israeli railway
Yes.
equipment, I would be
If
like, okay, that kind of slaps.
yeah.
But
This "Please Let Us Merge" one is really good.
I'm also just now realizing that I probably shouldn't be giving credit to anyone for this. I think I'm realizing live on recording that it's AI slop.
I'd be shocked if how would it be AI? I don't
So take a look at the frame
yeah.
about two-thirds of the way back. After there, I can see the word plurge.
Oh, no. Oh, well.
And then look at the stripes of the flag towards the back
Yeah,
of the unit.
seeing that.
It's starting to look like kind of Korean or maybe Chinese characters back there.
It's it's
Okay.
still a good effort.
It is a good effort, but come on, whoever had this idea, try harder, please. But yes, if you're just listening, Dad, I know you still just listen and don't watch the YouTube video. It's the same locomotive that says, please let us merge. Oh my God, all over the place. Oh my God, please let us merge. Let us merge. Oh my God, please let us merge.
It's so fucking funny. Also, and this is
And
what's
that,
gonna be behind the big boy going around the country,
yes,
which
yes, I forgot about that.
I would like to say from everything that I have heard, it is gonna be June. It's gonna be hitting like, the East Coast of the United States.
Gee,
It's
Joe, do you have inside information on
I
this?
don't I don't have I'm not saying that live on air. I'm not saying that live on air, but also, Fort Wayne
A little birdie told you.
The Cuyahoga Valley Railroad, said and the Fort Wayne people are not thrilled about this because they jumped the gun that 765 is coming to Cuyahoga Valley in Ohio, and it's like, "Huh, I wonder which day" oh, yeah, they're gonna be running it with the big boy, aren't they? That'll be insane. I live, like, 10 miles from where that's gonna be. That's gonna be insane. I'm not gonna be able to leave my own house.
If any of you would like to go in on chartering a small aircraft or maybe a helicopter, I would prefer not a helicopter with Joe and I, and you know how to take a shower and wear deodorant, let us know and we'll get you in on this so you can get pictures without having to fight highway traffic because Joe doesn't want to get rear ended while out
Again,
chasing funny trains again.
right? Ugh, okay.
I look, I saw the big boy when it came to Texas
I
last
saw the
time. I
big
don't want to do that again.
I saw the big boy when it was in Wyoming. That was nuts.
I had to drive to BFE, Arkansas to get a shot of it, and that was the only good place I could find, and I couldn't get ahead of it, and I couldn't get to that spot and get ahead of it from a previous spot.
Also, if you live in also, for those of you who don't know, the routing, as far as I can tell, is it's gonna go from Chicago it's gonna go down some of the Nickel Plate route into Bellevue, Ohio. It's then gonna go through Cleveland up to Buffalo, where it's gonna have its next, like, show day, Bingham to New York, and then down towards I don't know I'm not sure if it's going to Boston or not. I'd somewhere in that general area. It's going through, like you're gonna be foaming this in weird places. But Yeah,
Places, yes, it's weird. All right, that's
don't
all
throw
I've got
rocks at
for that.
don't throw rocks at this one while the big boy is there because UP police and NS police will be on full alert. Wait until afterwards to hit it.
Or wear a mask to stay safe because you don't want to get anybody sick.
Uh, uh,
Long sleeves to cover your arms because you don't want to get sunburned or release any identifying tattoos. Um, Pants are a good idea, and good running shoes. And know your neighborhood.
yep. Know where the
All right,
flock
that's it.
cameras are. Next thing. Oh my
That's it.
god.
Oh,
Right.
oh, the beaver's pissed.
Yes. Okay.
The beaver is so mad right
this is
now.
a local news item to me
I
because
guess kind of both
both
since
of us.
Bucky's is involved.
Yes. So, for those of you who don't live in northern Ohio like I do, specifically northeastern, north central Ohio, hyper regional, gas station chain Mickey Mart, now sort of rebranding itself to Mickey's, has been sued by supranational gas station and extravaganza Bucky's over trademark infringement, arguing that their logos are too similar. This is bullshit. And I think we
I
can
hope
all
that I hope that beaver chews a tree that falls on itself.
Yeah, it's this is a really interesting and novel way of engendering local support because Bucky's is actually opening, I think at the beginning of next month, a location in Huber Heights, Ohio, which is out by Dayton, and then they just announced that they are going to build one in Mansfield, Ohio, which is about an hour from my house. Please do
I'm
not
sorry.
dox me. Um, Mansfield. Now, the interesting thing is that Mickey Mart is a really hyper regional station chain. They have about 40 locations, basically in a swath that goes from Port Clinton down towards like almost New Philadelphia, Ohio, which means nothing to 80% of you. Um, but their headquarters are actually right like the next town over from where I live. Um, but I guess they started rebranding a couple of years ago because they started instituting these bigger gas stations, which if you can see, this is one in a location that is within walking distance to me. Please, for the love of God, don't dox me. But this is one of their biggest locations that they have for Mickey Mart or Mickey's. As you can see, this is the biggest Mickey's location. This is one of the biggest Bucky's locations.
Oh my god, which
They
one is that?
That's Sevierville, Tennessee.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I
I
need to
think
look
they've
up how many
opened.
pumps that is. That's
It's
nuts.
160 something. I
Oh,
actually when I went here once and they actually lost power due to a thunderstorm, so I got to watch and I was sitting literally at pump 1, which is right at the edge of the closest one to the in the photo. I got to watch the entire place clear out over the span of about 10 minutes.
hell yeah.
But which was wild.
Um,
But in any event, it's sort of really stupid because Mickey Mart, what they're trying to do here is trying to eliminate the competition, which isn't engendering local sport because people generally like Mickey Mart around here. So I'm not entirely certain what their plan is to do this because everybody likes
I
Bucky's
mean,
as well, which this is really fascinating. The amount of Bucky's hatred that I've heard only after this lawsuit was announced.
oh, I've not liked them for quite a while. They're awful to their employees.
I was unaware of that. Will you please elaborate?
Yes. So if you work as and anything in there, uh, you get 1 20-minute break per shift. That is the only time you are allowed to have your phone on your person. You can be fired if a manager sees the outline of your phone in your pocket. God help you if you actually pull it out. Um, you cannot sit, and you are frequently forced into overtime that you may or may not agree with. Some people like the overtime, but some don't. And there's a general atmosphere of know your place, peon, for the lower level employees. It's they lure you in with higher wages and then treat you like trash, which there is no paycheck that's worth being treated like trash.
So it's like a gas station that pays better, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
There's a lower chance of being robbed, I suppose. I mean, that puts it better
Try
than
robbing
like
a
your
Buc-ee's, that'd be hilarious.
yes. That's like a GTA 6 level. You know what? I'm calling it now. We're going to see that they try to rob a giant gas station that has a walrus called Wally's.
Something like that. But yeah, in Bucky's defense, I will say that this Mickey Mart rebrand to Mickey's is definitely trying to be a little bit like Bucky's, but it's
Oh,
not in
sure.
any way that can be trademarkable. I will
No.
say, you know what I probably bet this is from is that last year I went down to Shelby, Ohio, the bustling metropolis of 9,000 people, to buy a pickup truck for work and for my job. And on the way back, I was registering the truck at the local BMV office in Shelby, and they mentioned, and one of the staff members came back with candy from the Mickey Mart because they just opened one of these newer big Mickey Marts in Shelby. And she
Hell
did
yeah.
say the phrase Shelby's Bucky's, which
Ooh,
because
they're
like
winning the brand war.
because this is clearly to the inhabitants of Shelby, Ohio, a big thing. So like Bucky's almost, but not in any remotely similar way, because Bucky's is giant and beaver themed, and Mickey's has a giant moose on top of many of their locations. And also the interior of these two, they've opened two of these big Mickeys so far. They're inexplicably dinosaur themed. Do you see this
Oh,
thing down here?
yes. I was wondering about
I
that.
don't know why. I go to this one
I mean,
regularly. I don't know why.
moose are big and terrifying enough that I'd believe they're prehistoric creatures.
I don't know why it's Dino World Adventure. That's but
Mm.
Mickey Mart is also really funny. They have like a little annual, like a quarterly newspaper that's free they make that's called the Hoof and Antler. Um one of the one of the first ones they had promised an exclusive issue interview with Taylor Swift on page 36, and it went up to page 35.
That is so rad. I love whoever has that dumb sense of humor.
No, it was really funny. Um, and then just to sort of round out obscure Ohio-based gas stations, I'm shocked that Mickey Mart isn't also suing Bell Stores, which has, again, an animal-based logo, but it seems to be doing nothing else. Um, I I don't I don't think they're going to win this. I really don't. Like, it's gas station with name is not like a similar like it's even better than that. So Bucky's was named that because the guy who founded Bucky's was like nicknamed that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Mickey Mart was founded by a guy whose nickname was Mickey or Mick. So
Okay.
it's the same fucking thing. You
That's
can't trademark your an origin story
yeah. You
like
can't.
that.
Yeah, you can't trademark a background.
Also, this would be really fucking funny is Mickey Mart is owned by the Coles family, who also own one of the largest gasoline providers in this part of the state.
Ooh.
So I be really funny if they build this place in Mansfield, then Coles Energy turns out to be the ones they have to buy gas from.
Oh, that would be
Yeah, Bucky's
hilarious.
Bucky's gets delivered 10 tanker trucks of water.
You
But
want gas? Dance for it, Beaver Boy.
mhm.
Take the reins for a second. I got to step out for just a moment.
Um well, oh, god damn it, he left right as I was about to go to the next slide. Anyways, I hope you guys like regional gas station chains. Does anyone have one near you that does something weird like what Mickey Mart does or what Bucky's does? Please let us know in the comments below. Don't email us because we want this to be engagement. Also, I didn't know that Bucky's was such a shithole to their employees. That's it's very interesting. Because I was always like, oh yeah, that pay looks great, but as it turns out, Texans are always like this. It's always something with those fuckers. Maybe we need to take wheels away from Texans and they'll be nice. Because Greg Abbott is in a wheelchair and he's an asshole. Maybe if you're forced to walk, you'll be nice. Um, I know Zach can hear me. I'm running out of things to vamp for, buddy. You really
Ross is gonna yell at you so hard for that one
what?
about taking away the wheels.
Well, any form of wheels, car wheels, truck wheels, make every Texan walk or hover. It
Okay,
can also
okay.
you
We
walked
are where the future that is shown in the Disney Pixar movie Wall-E is going to start. So
yeah,
you're
you all
gonna take you're gonna pry our wheels away from our cold dead hands. We actively try to kill public transit here.
yeah.
All right.
You walked away right as I was about to go to the next slide. I needed to vamp some.
I know. I know.
Right.
I kinda hoped you'd move on to this next one because it's this next one's pissing me off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, I need Zach to react to these. Anyways,
No, no,
one
you
of the
don't.
reasons
This is bad.
so we have a breaking news slide now because one of the reasons why many of if you looked at the news brief, you'll notice that a lot of the news things happened in February and it's almost the end of March. Why is that happening? Well,
Don't worry about it.
we were all forced to listen to the album by Vince Vance and the Valiants, Bomb Iran, because we went to war with Iran for no fucking reason. Like
Shiggles.
like we just wanted to hear bomb 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 Iran, like that whole thing. I don't
And
it's
we just kicking the hornet's nest, that's all.
yeah, it since then gas
Uh,
prices have gone up dramatically. It was
any
like
of you who lived in the era right after 9/11 will remember the line, they're on the verge of having nuclear weapons. Uh, there's reason to believe that there's weapons of mass destructions within Iran, so we have to invade them. We've never seen this plan before, and I bet you, even if we had, I bet you it'll work better this time.
yeah, it'll work this time. Pay no attention to the fact that how gas prices have gone up almost $1 a gallon nationwide in the 3
It
weeks
was so
since.
fast.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Really thrilled about that. Um, anyways,
Me too. Cries in my 50-mile commute to work.
mhm. Let's just look through some of the things I put in here. This was a couple weeks ago. Notice how a lot of the places bombed were not Iran. So Iran bombed Israel, as you might expect. They bombed Kurdistan. They bombed the Saudis. They bombed Oman. They bombed Kuwait. They bombed Bahrain. They bombed the Emiratis. A bunch of other. Now they took a shot at Diego
The
Garcia.
Emirates?
They've taken a shot at Cyprus. Like they're just throwing it's like it's that meme. Anyways, I started blasting.
They are also threatening an island called Karg Island.
No, that's
Um,
us. That's us. We're threatening Karg Island because that's
yeah, I'm sorry. That I meant I wasn't clear on that. They, as in the overlords that control our military and Israel.
yeah.
So if you need a break on Karg Island because it's a tiny little thing that is incredibly important to pretty much the entire flow of oil out of the Middle East, I highly recommend a episode of a podcast called The Foreign Report that released on March 19th that lays it out very plainly and actually in a kind of funny way.
Oh boy. Let's go on to the next image. This is what I think this is somewhere in Iran. I don't know where. This is again being bombed. You know, a lot of military targets. Now they're going after civilian targets somewhat too. Next
Oh
thing,
boy.
this is the gas prices as of like several days ago. Per barrel of crude was just going up dramatically, which is bad. Um, oh yeah, here it is. Drop in maritime traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. This is also bad
Oh.
because this is how you get oil out of the Middle East.
Hmm.
If you think it's bad for us, 90% of the fuel in the Strait of Hormuz that can't leave is was being sent to the east of the world, like Asia and Africa, and places where they're now instituting fuel rationing and 4-day weeks and mandating that air conditioning be turned off in subtropical climates. And
Hmm.
this is what we call bad, and it will soon spill over to us.
And there's a lot of a lot of workarounds for this that are incredibly shady and incredibly illegal, like transferring oil from one tanker to another in the dead of the night. Both of them taking weird alternate routes
Yeah.
around the Strait of Hormuz.
There's another way to get
It's
around this too, which is that, you can just escort because the whole reason they're not going through here is that the Iranians are shooting at them. You could escort them through with military ships, but the problem is that the United States Navy is apparently caught with its pants down by its own operation, and because Donald Trump has spent the last 18 months systematically shitting on every single ally we have, nobody has actually offered up to help. And so, like,
we're also running out of weapons,
we are running
like
out of
real
weapons.
time running out of weapons.
We're pulling things out of other areas all over the world. And of course, like some people are willing to help us. Like the Japanese expressed an interest, and then Trump made a Pearl Harbor joke to their faces that took the air out of the room. So
Oh, I
that's,
missed that one. Oh my god.
yeah. A reporter asked him, "Why didn't you tell your allies about the surprise attack?" And he's like, "You're asking me about surprise attacks in front of her," which was funny. And then he's like, "Why didn't they tell us about Pearl Harbor?" And you could just be like, "Ooh." The air just sort of went out of the
Oh.
room. So, um,
Oh.
yeah, this is not going well for us. We definitely are showing our own ass here. On top of this, an F-35 managed to be shot at by the Iranians, which is great, really great.
It's
Um,
impressive, if
what
nothing else.
happened what happened to the US Navy and US Air Force that bombed a bunch of Iranian oil platforms so thoroughly the Soviets came to watch? Um, that's certainly not a thing anymore. And then, of course, we also had an incident where two KC-135s hit each other midair, of which only one survived, uh, which
Oh boy.
was which was really great. Showing how good we are at this. And then, yeah, so far 13 US service members have been killed. Trump doesn't really seem to know how many more or seems to care that much. 230 have been wounded in some way, and thousands of Iranians and other people have died. So,
And the number just keeps going up.
yep, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. I'm interested to see how this will go. Badly is the way that I anticipate it will go, but that's un-American to say that. Glad my parents don't listen to this. Anyways,
Well, that'd be fun explaining that to those two.
we have these conversations all the time. I just sit there and don't say anything anymore. Anyways, moving right along. After how long has it been, Zach?
Let me open up that 58 minutes.
So it's an
Finally get through the news.
oh boy. Yes, and so
Well, that also includes some
yes.
BS at the beginning where we're getting set up.
Yes. I would also like to point out this is not in case I've been wondering if a lot of people haven't seen this slide because we stick it all the way at the end where, if you've made it that long, you're already someone we know. If you have almost died in a public transit accident of any form, or we would like your story, please email us at syddoywtw@gmail.com. Please make sure it's an interesting one. Please don't make it be like, oh, I saw a guy fall down on the bus once. Like we want some action, some hype. It could even be blood, so long as it's not yours, or if it is yours, a non-fatal amount. If it was a fatal amount of blood, please contact Zach directly through his Ouija board and his clipboard.
Yes.
Other than
But only on the weekends. I have to leave that clipboard at home because it broke, but I've still got the Ouija board in it.
okay, so yeah,
If you have another big Ouija board sticker, because I can't find any anymore, please let me know by emailing a link to where I can buy it at syddoywtw@gmail.com. I can only find like tiny 2x4 stickers.
oh, that's terrible. But yeah, please contact us with either of those things. We're always interested in hearing this, and maybe this time we'll actually get some responses. Um, if you know us personally, you know how to find us otherwise. Now we have to go on to the actual topic of this episode. Oh my fucking god. If you want to take a pee break, do it now. I forgot to put in the intermission slide because I did not think it would take this long.
Shame.
Um, anyways, we must ask ourselves a question. What is Washington, D.C.? Terrible, just awful. It's full of the worst people you know, and it's swampy as fuck in the middle of the summer, which is when you'd be there because you're taking your stupid kids to see the Smithsonian Institute of Bullshit or something like that.
The
Or
Smithsonian's are good.
yeah, but it's
Don't that's like the only really good reason to go to the Smithsonian or to go to DC is to go see the Smithsonian's.
yeah. My next sentence was about to be, or if you're stupid and you dragged yourself out to see the Smithsonian. And
Oh,
out
I
to be,
did that 2 years
I
ago.
did that as well 3 years ago. It's like, yeah, let's walk around. Oh, the Air Force, the Air and Space Museum is under renovation. Oh, the American Museum of National History hasn't changed in 20 years. Oh boy, what are you going to go to the
Okay,
National?
I had never been there before, so
Yeah, I should have gone to the National Building Museum. That would have been more fun because that place is architecturally fantastic. Go to the National Building Museum. Go to the National Post Office Museum, which is across the street from Union Station. Do that.
I should have done that.
Don't go to anywhere. Go to other places that aren't usually the big ones, or ride the metro around all day because it's air conditioned and also looks great. Because if you're listening to this podcast, that's
Those metro stations are so cool.
because if you're listening to this podcast, it's a definite thing that you can do. Also, don't take metro to the Air and Space Annex out by Dulles Airport because there is a once an hour bus that takes you from the metro station, and it is not in any way synced with the arrival of the Silver Line trains.
Yeah, Sasha and I thought about doing that, and once I saw that connection, I was like, I'm not gonna gamble that.
I called an Uber from the bus stop.
Not a bad plan.
But yeah, anyways, now we have another slide that Zach put in. Is this a text message that you sent? The never has there been a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I didn't know that. Um, I'm sorry to keep bringing him up, but this is what I sent to my dad when my wife and I were standing outside the Capitol building. And I'll tell you, I sent this to several people, but he was the first one to reply with a giant thumbs up, like within a minute. Everybody else kind of took their time. It's like, oh, wow, you're funny. And dad was just like, yep, you got it.
God bless you.
That made, I knew he would appreciate that one more than
Mhm.
anybody else that I sent it to.
So
That was
anyway,
it. Yeah, there's there that nothing, almost nothing good happens to that building. Every now and then something good happens, but it's immediately outweighed by shitty things like what we're going to talk about later in this
mhm.
episode.
So onwards to the next slide. What is Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport? Um, oh, please don't make that noise. It's
It's an involuntary reaction anytime I find something that's named after Reagan. Let me tell you, when I drive on the Ronald Reagan Memorial Highway to work, it's constant, just the whole drive there.
so was such a genuine sounding wretch too. I don't like that sound. You're gonna trigger like one listener. That's gonna be awful. I'm sorry on
I'll
his
put I'll put a
behalf.
I'll put a trigger warning in the description just for
No,
that.
no, do not. That's not worth. That's gonna be so weird. Anyways, so what is DCA? DCA is one of two airports in the country that are owned by the federal government. The other, of course, being Dulles International. Um, it is one of the busiest airports in the United States. It is, and on it, runway 119, yeah, is is the single busiest runway in the
Mhm.
country. It's a hub
It is
for
packed.
American Airlines, so a lot of their jets come in and out of here all the time. Somebody who I know, we once talked about DCA, like apparently this watching this place from nearby buildings is like watching carrier ops, where there are just jets going every 45 seconds or so. This is basically the the way to get into DC if you are a legislator because it's like 20 minutes on metro and I assume 7 or like 10 minutes by motorcade to the Capitol building. and it's a lot closer than it's like 5 minutes from the Pentagon, and it's like a lot closer than Dulles Airport, which is like 40 minutes out in the suburbs. Um,
Dulles is where you fly if you can't afford to fly into
or
Reagan.
if you live very far away, because Reagan
Well, yeah,
is
there's a lot of people that can't afford to live that close, so they go to Dulles because it's closer to home.
well, no, I meant like from if you live in California, because Reagan is a very small airport that can the biggest jet it can handle
Oh,
is the 757. There's actually
oh,
only been a single digit number of wide bodies that have ever landed there, including the 787 during its testing phase. Um, it's it's a national airport, not an international airport. The only international flights it can take are ones from like Canada and Mexico that have gotten TS customs pre-clearance at their departure airports, and most of its flight is regional jet traffic, 737, 7 occasionally 757s, A320s, that sort of thing. So
it's so little.
it is so
It's
little,
all
and
little aircraft.
it's little and mighty. You're not getting anything that's using the call sign heavy or super in here, which is sort of why they can have this like really ridiculous carrier flight deck level operations. There's also no general aviation traffic because DCA is at the heart of the Washington DC Special Flight Rules area, which is its own separate pile of nonsense, but basically it means that if you fly in here without being specially licensed to do so and also don't follow the rules at all, you will never fly an airplane again or you will be shot down.
It's one of those areas where if you don't pay attention to your heading and you accidentally fly your little Piper Cub in there, you are going to have fighter jets on either wingtip.
Yes, and actually, this is not the approach that was used during the accident, but the approach into runway 19 is called the Potomac River approach, and it's generally one of the hardest approaches to fly in commercial aviation in the US, because you have to follow the Potomac because, over here, where it says P56 on this chart is the National Mall and most of DC, and then if you go anywhere on the other side, that's the Pentagon. That's the Pentagon. We had a whole thing about there's been a whole thing about airplanes going too close to the Pentagon, and airplanes touching the Pentagon, so not happening again. Although I will say the SFR was officially, um, put in place due to, as a precursor to Iraqi freedom in '03, but, 9/11 definitely didn't help with that.
9/11 has ruined so many things in this
Yeah.
country, and oddly enough, the approach to Reagan is one of them.
Yes. Interestingly enough, the takeoff path for runway 19, um, again, it follows the Potomac, which means that if you are standing at the really solemn looking Pentagon 9/11 memorial, every 30 seconds it is broken by the flight of an airliner. Which is like, guys, could we
Moments of
be
silence don't exist there.
no, actually they put up enough blocker walls that they to hide the highway noise that it's kind of quiet, and then like a jet flies over. Like, come on, guys, do we really?
That should have been an enclosed building.
I
Oh, for
really
God's
should. It
sake.
really should have. Um, Interestingly enough, it's the only place on the entire Pentagon grounds where you can actually take out a camera. Like, there are big signs because you have to walk from the metro station to the memorial around like two different wedges of the Pentagon, and there are big signs that say you cannot have cameras out here, you cannot have cameras out here, and everything. And then there, it's just
Oh
like, yeah,
boy.
you can take pictures here. So
Oh
it's also
boy.
apparently open 24 hours, which must be so weird if you go there at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I bet you meet a nice MP who's like, let
I
me.
wonder how they feel about those Ray-Ban Meta glasses.
Um, I don't even want to think about that.
Just
I really,
recording your walk from the metro to the memorial.
yeah, I don't want to think about that. I really don't. I was the signs were big enough. It was scary enough as like the local yokel from Ohio. I'm like, nope, not doing this.
Yeah, don't mess with that. All right.
But so yeah, the main runway at DCA is 1 and 19. It's this big long one here in the center that goes roughly north south. A secondary runway is runway 3315, which is these ones right here, which by the way, if you don't know, these numbers mean magnetic heading. So runway 1 is runway, it's probably like 10 degrees and
10 degrees.
190 degrees because they chop off the end zero. And then there's 33 is probably 330 degrees
Yep.
and 150 degrees. And then the other, this tertiary runway here, which is really short, they don't use it that often, is runway 4 and runway 22. So probably 40 and 220.
Yep.
So
I don't know much about aviation, but that is one thing that absolutely made sense to me was runway numbers.
yeah, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Just know that's what it means. This airport is oriented mostly north south. Um, it's on an island in the Potomac that's sort that like basically it's almost an island, but there's like a little bit of wetlands right along one end, and then you'll notice right here the Rochambeau Memorial Bridge. Do you know why it's called the Memorial Bridge?
No.
It's because in the 1980s, Air Florida Flight 90 took off from runway 19 and did not make it further than the Rochambeau Memorial Bridge before it
Oh
hit the
god.
Rochambeau Memorial Bridge and meant that it was renamed into the Harlan D. Williams Memorial Bridge because that
Oh.
was the one guy on board who kept throwing away the life ring. So,
Oh.
yeah, this is the second Potomac air disaster, but in a different spot for a different reason. Um anyways, now we have to go on to another question. What are the DC area helicopter routes?
This
And
map scares me.
the short answer is bad. The short answer is really bad. Um, really bad, really dumb, really stupid. Do not do this. Helicopters are a bad idea. But anyways, so as expected, when it's A in the center of a special flight rules area and B the head of government for the U.S., Washington D.C. is under constant siege by helicopter. Okay, it's a lot easier to get around the DC area if you have a helicopter, which if you are, you know, the president, the secretary of whatever, the head of the army or something, it's a lot easier to get around and it's a lot safer, generally, mostly, allegedly. And so you can fly, and so helicopters are flying all over the place. There's also air ambulance services. There's probably like TV news and everything with the odd civilian helicopters in there as well. So I don't know the exact history of this, but these have been around for ages. There are helicopter routes over Washington D.C. that basically you fly these when you are in when you're in the area, and it keeps you out of everybody's way. These are things that have been instituted in a lot of cities that have a lot of helicopter traffic, like New York and Los Angeles. But DCs are sort of their own special level of insanity. Um, and
I'm
so
I'm surprised by that no-go zone up in the northeast the northeast corner of the map.
the
How
P50,
the eastern edge of that seems to skirt right up against the Capitol building,
um,
relatively speaking, compared to the rest of the zone.
well, I imagine that much beyond there, you have to be able to get into because that's the White House, and so
Mm,
there's a lot of different things that are around here that you probably have to be able to land at, but like you don't really ever need to fly over the National Mall or anything.
no. I feel
And
like somebody could make a career just out of fully understanding this route and teaching it to others.
yeah, I
Like
believe they're
that's the
called flight
only thing.
instructors.
It's just that flight instructor specializes in this. You go to his classroom or their classroom to learn how to not get shot down when you're piloting a helicopter through DC.
Yeah, and
This is messy.
it is messy, and it's also really undefined. So if we look at the image on the left, which is labeled Figure 72, you will see here. We'll talk about what Route 4 is in just a second, but you see how this is like really fuzzy and indistinct and like has sort of like a weird upper and lower bound. It's
Somebody say it's vague.
yeah, there's actually not like a perfectly defined limit either way or up and down. So like a lot of helicopter pilots, it's sort of assumed it's like, between 100 and 200 feet, but it's not like how far out can you be? How how low can you be? How high can you be? It's not explicitly laid out.
I
Um,
don't like anything that's on graph paper that has faded edges.
yeah, it
Those two things don't mix.
like the height limits are kind of set, especially around like DCA and everything. But anything like how far over the Potomac you can be, not clear. Bunch of how low you can be, not clear. That sort of thing. It's
That's fine.
it's not
I'm sure
great.
it's fine.
Like you can see here, like it's at the Wilson Bridge. There's a little 300 that goes to 200. That's like how high you can be, but it doesn't say where you can be. And in other places, it doesn't give you like a height limit and everything. It's just figure it
What
out.
the fuck?
Um,
No.
and you can see actually right here a review of commercial operations at DCA between October 2021 and December 2024 indicated a total of 944,179 operations. During that time, there were 15,214 occurrences between commercial airplanes and helicopters in which there was a lateral separation distance of less than 1 nautical mile and vertical separation of less than 400 feet. There were 85 recorded events that involved the lateral separation less than 1,500 feet and vertical separation less than 200 feet. So,
No.
and you
Hell no.
and you will notice on Figure 72 again that the PAPI guided approach to runway 33 is 75 feet away from is at from the from the uppermost level of Route 4 corridor at its furthest bounds along the riverbed. If we look over here, it's like 30 feet away from the furthest bound on the other direction. So this is not good.
That's not a lot.
No, in fact, you could say that it's bad. You could say that this is really fucking bad. And just to
Yikes.
sort of set what Route 4 is, so there's a lot of different helicopter routes around here. Just on this screen, we've got 1, 4, 5, and 6, and 3 down here. So Route 4 is the one that goes along the Potomac River. It actually meets into Route 1, I'm sorry, right here at Haynes Point. So this is like the north-south helicopter traversal of DC. So does that make sense to everyone? Like Route 5 goes towards the Pentagon, Route 6 I guess crosses DCA, which is just
I
insane. And then Route
guess
3
it's how
goes
you
around
get
the end.
through the area?
Yeah. Yeah, just don't fucking eat it. Yeah, because Route 5, I'm God, I keep getting the numbers wrong. I'm so sorry. Route 6, you can see there's like a 1,400 here. So they've got to be higher, I guess. So keep in mind, you have to deal with all of this shit while there's like one commercial airliner every minute coming in or out. Best keep your head on the swivel. And
Ugh.
yeah, they extend all
This
the
makes
way.
me anxious.
It should. It's really not it's really not good. It's basically yeah, there's no lateral boundaries. There's no warning to helicopters to keep a defined distance from the shoreline. It's just so oh, and oh, by the way, one other thing. Of those proximity alert things here, over two-thirds of them happened at night.
Oh,
We should
night,
keep
which is
foreshadowing
famous
is a
for its great visibility.
foreshadowing is a literary device. So please keep this in the back of your mind until we go on to the next thing. We have to talk about a specific helicopter for its helicopter route. So this is 0026860. It's a Sikorsky UH-60L delivered to the Department of the Army in March 2001. So this thing is pre 9/11 actually, and is a 24-year veteran of the service. It
Okay.
it was not in the greatest of condition. It was definitely a well-used aircraft. I don't have a specific hour figure, but it definitely it was worked a lot.
It had character.
It's the only Army service member in this entire story that has any sort of experience at all. Um, it it um At various points during the investigation, they discovered various things were wrong with it. The radios didn't seem to work that well. The transponders didn't seem to work that well. Um, there were some other the the altimeters were allowed to have a certain amount of play in them, but I don't think that's really as relevant. And more to the point, and also it was fitted with these gigantic wing mounted fuel tank thingies on. They're not wings; they're like brackets, but they're wing shaped. Um, and so this is what it looked like in the lead up to the accident. It which blanked over these windows right here. That's kind of important, but not
Yep.
really.
These side windows.
Um, it was just an ordinary helicopter in the U.S. Army, part of the Preferred Air Transport Squadron, which was the priority air transport, which is basically this was part of the continuance of government program. If Iran nuked us or something, this is what would pick up the junior undersecretary of the Who Gives a Shit, and and spirit them off to like the Greenbrier Resort where they would be put in the bunker. You know, it's that sort of thing. Oh wait, no shit. I do have the hours written down. 4,803 hours. Point six. I knew I wrote that down. I'm not dumb.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it was there. And I just want to point out the transponder kind of didn't work. That may sound like a much bigger deal than it is otherwise. It speaks certainly to how the U.S. Army maintained its craft, but the aircraft would be picked up throughout the accident by a variety of secondary sources that was able to track its route with accuracy. That's not an issue. You're gonna be thinking about that if you're paying attention. It's like, nah, it's a red herring. I've never had an NTSB report with red herrings in it before.
I cannot tell you all how much I hate this report, and it's because of things like that.
Yeah, it's really not good.
Okay,
Um,
you remember how we gave the Canadians a hard time in the last episode about going into things that were just like we looked into it and it was irrelevant, and that got a whole section. This does that times 10.
yeah, and the Canadians at the very least like sort of gave a summary at the start, and it's like,
Yes.
and this did not. It was really really bad. Um, Now if we go on to the next slide, this one you did right, Zach?
Yes. This is the crew of the helicopter. Um, so first up, we have our pilot, Rebecca Lobach. I hope that's how you pronounce her name. I am not sure.
I've just been saying Lobach.
Yeah. I if you're gonna have a weird name like that, you just kind of have to take what everybody spits out at you. Trust me, I know. Uh, she didn't have a whole lot of time. She had a total of 454 hours of flight experience. 326 were in the make and model of this helicopter. However, what were you saying, Joe? She was used to like a more glass flight deck instead
She
of an
was
analog one.
she was used to the later model of the UH-60. I believe it's the UH-60M that had a glass cockpit instead of the more steam gaugey one on the
Yeah.
UH-60L, which is not. If I can't remember if it's in the um, article from the New York Magazine that I read about this, or if it's in the NTSB report, because the NTSB report is that incoherently written.
Yes.
It's
So
really not
notably,
good.
it's bad. So notably, Lobach had only 56 hours in the previous year
Yeah.
and 4.4 in the previous 60 days.
Oh yeah. No, it's
These
super
are
bad.
these are little baby stints.
Yeah, she is. There's a reason why in the New York Magazine article that I will reference a lot more in about 4 slides that she is not that great of a pilot, and the guy who's training her, Eves, is really like, yeah, I'm a little worried about her.
Yeah, she notably struggled with stick and rudder skills, and it was particularly taxing to fly and maintain altitude and airspeed while understanding and utilizing its manual trim system with her. So she had a hard time keeping it level and steering it.
Yeah, this is notably what's called knowing how to fly.
So she basically struggled with everything flying because, planes are hard, helicopters are harder, and starting on a helicopter is insane. And I have
Yeah,
no indication that she's ever flown a plane.
yeah. She she most likely was trained in the army as opposed to afterwards. Although
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that for certain. I don't know.
No, you know what would where we normally get that info is the NTSB report, and they don't mention anything at all about that. Is it prior
Hmm.
experience? Is it fixed wing aircraft experience and fewer, rotary helicopter hours? Would be nice to know, but this is what you get from an NTSB report that's written during a government shutdown.
It has to
Next
be
up,
written during a government
it
shutdown.
had like the body of it has. I would not be surprised if some intern like ran this through Grok.
Oh, don't say that. Oh God.
You know it's a possibility.
Oh, I thought they
I'll
used.
give him this much. I don't see a bunch of M dashes, so it's probably not run through
Yeah.
AI. All right. Next up, far right over there in the dress uniform formal photo is instructor pilot Andrew Eves. He had some more flight time, had a total of 968.2 hours of flight experience. The only one to get a decimal point in his flight hours. Not sure why. 301 hours were on this type of helicopter, but there are different letter designations. As we just talked about, there's different letter designations for like different submodels and different flight deck configurations. So it may just be 301 hours on the UH-60 as a whole, maybe not this particular submodel. I don't know. He had flown 269 hours in the last year and 25 and a half hours in the previous 60 days. Not a lot, but more than Lobach. Also, kind of understandable if he's an instructor pilot, he's probably not going to have as much time out in the field because he's probably going to have a significant amount of time in classroom training and doing like administrative work,
And
keeping track of all of
simulators.
this stuff. Yeah,
Although judging from how the army seems to be doing it, a lot of the time is probably spent in the helicopter waiting for someone to fuck up.
maybe a strong possibility. Mm. So, our last fella down there in the middle. Um, this is Crew Chief Ryan O'Hara. O'Hara? I don't know. I'm sorry. He has a rather significant record of 1,149 total hours of flight experience. Only 186 were on the UH-60. I don't know how much of this was in the last month because despite giving that info to us for the other two members of the crew, the NTSB decided we didn't need that for Mr. O'Hara. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And he was
But
also sitting in the back too, which makes
yes, yes. And even
far
in this
a bit of a
photo of him, he is sitting in the back, which, as we talked about in the previous slide, is covered up by these big old fuel tanks sticking out from the side of the helicopter. His windows are blanked over, which is particularly unfortunate because what the NTSB report does give us is a quote from a battalion standardization pilot that was uninvolved with this incident, but had recently done an annual performance evaluation on O'Hara. And he said that the crew chief O'Hara was, quote, always teaching somebody something, end quote. That's a good attitude to have at a safety sensitive job.
yeah,
This pilot also added that the crew chief was very good at spotting and calling out traffic using the battalion's standard terminology.
yeah.
He has effective communication, but he cannot communicate what he does not see because the windows on either side of him are blanked out.
By the external storage support system that is like mounted on the side of the helicopter for no reason when you're doing a training flight.
When you're doing short hop little training flights, it can't be that long if you're only getting low double digit total hours over the past 60 days.
Yeah. Let's just remember everything. All of these people are out experienced and out tenured by their helicopter.
Yes. And you know what? You know what? I'm going to do this little bit live. What was their total flight experience Let's see. Pull
Oh
out the
boy, we're
calculator
getting live
here.
math.
We'll do 454 for Rebecca Lobach. Flip over 6 pages to get over to Andrew Eves, who had 968.2. Can't forget that point two. And then O'Hara had 1,149. That comes out to a combined experience of flight hours for the whole crew 2,571.2.
2,571.2.
Yes,
The
and the aircraft
helicopter
was
had
what, around 4,000?
4,803.6.
Okay,
And save
that's
that
not
number.
foreboding.
Save that number for when we talk about the PSA flight crew for the
Yes.
CRJ, because that's a lot. But and speaking of PSA, now we have to go on to the next slide. Oh boy, this biblically accurate nonsense. Biblically accurate. So, how would you assholes like to learn about regional aviation in the United States? Because you're going to learn whether you like it or not.
Joe, you might have to speed run this. We have so much to talk about.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
This is so busy.
So this is the story of November 709 Papa Sierra, a Bombardier CRJ 700, except that it's not anymore. We'll get through this. So the short version of this is that November 709 Papa Sierra was built by Bombardier Commercial Aviation for PSA Airlines, a division of U.S. Airways operating under their U.S. Airways Express banner. It was tested under the registration Charlie Golf India Alpha Delta. Although for some reason one website shows it has a different set of registrations at first, so I don't know why. But as far as I've been able to tell, it was registered as it was.
Quick question.
Yeah.
PSA was the airline that did smiley faces on their planes, right?
We're going to talk about that. I have so much to say here. There's so much to discuss.
I just wanted to know if it got the smiley face.
This is an official US Air hatred podcast. We'll get there.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Anyways,
all right.
It was delivered. It was delivered to PSA and operated under the US Airways Express banner until which you can see here in its original black livery. Then it went into the white livery that you might know from the Miracle on the Hudson. At which point, this is the Post America West merger livery. No, this isn't the Post America West merger. Yes, it is. This is the Post America West merger livery. And then after the American Airlines merger, the jet went straight into the new post 2013 American Airlines livery, operating under the brand of American Eagle, all without changing its registration or holding company PSA. I would like to point out, if you can see the little thing in the background, I couldn't make the American Airlines livery because it fucking sucks, and I didn't know how to do that in the medium of PowerPoint. So this is the old American Airlines livery. Anyways,
the old one's better.
Now, what is PSA Airlines, and how does it interact with anything else that's happened here?
Public Service Announcement Airlines?
This is your learning corner. So, the airline with the smiley faces that you were just talking about is up here. That was Pacific Southwest Airlines, one of God's own prototypes. It's a fantastic airline that did a lot of really innovative things. They taught Southwest everything they knew. And then what happens is that in the late 1980s, PSA, basically, its new corporate structure is run by a bunch of guys with MBAs, so they fuck it up within a couple of years and sell it to the place where happiness goes to die, US Air. And now we're going to talk about some other stuff, and we'll get back to PSA in a little bit. Okay? So stay with me.
I'm trying.
We have to start with V. Neal Airlines, which was founded in Latrobe, Pennsylvania in 1979. They started scheduled service. They were a fixed base operator in the same way that Texas International was. Started scheduled services in 1980, but really came into their own with major passenger services out of Erie, Pennsylvania in 1983, operating BAE Jetstream 31s from Erie to Chicago after another airline pulled out of Erie. They renamed themselves to Jetstream International Airlines at that time, JIA. This is still PSA's call sign at like not call sign ICAO code to this day, JIA. Um,
What a what code?
the if you look on the your flight ticket for anything, like there's usually like AA flight
Oh, yes.
69, and then if you're operating on like a regional carrier, there's usually another one. That one would say JIA 6969 or something.
Yes,
So
gotcha.
um so in 1985, Jetstream International became a contract operator for Piedmont Airlines. Piedmont Airlines is a southern-based airline that's rapidly growing in size, based out of their hub in Charlotte, North Carolina. They sort of are like doing a lot of like I don't there's not as much of a history to Piedmont as there is PSA or some of these other ones, but Piedmont basically did a lot of nice stuff out of the South. Um, JIA was struggling, so they basically signed up to Piedmont and operated under their Piedmont Commuter brand, which is down here. So they became a regional carrier for that. There's still even then, this influx of capital doesn't really help them, and Piedmont buys them outright in on August 1st, 1986, and they become Piedmont Commuter full time. That's all they do. That is the last time that Jetstream International Airlines will ever operate anything under their own branding ever again. They are a wholly owned subsidiary for the rest of time. Now, in 1987, US Air, in its quest to rid the world of well run airlines with happy employees, purchases Piedmont. And they purchase Pacific Southwest Airlines around the same time. Now, I would like to point, and so, and for any, this is an official US Air hate podcast. For anyone who doesn't for anyone who cares, US Air's corporate culture is and was terrible. And like to the point where PSAs where I've gone on PSA Facebook groups of former PSA employees, and the motto of US Air, according to them, was wipe that smile off your face. To give you an idea,
Oof.
this was the sort of thing where they told maintenance people to show up for orientation in suit and tie, and PSA people turned up in leisure suits, and the US Air people got really mad at them. Like this is a humorless airline that does not like you and is generally awful. It has contributed nothing but agony and anguish to people for its entire existence, and I am glad that it is gone. It, I fucking hate
Oof.
US Air. All my homies hate US Air.
I think I flew in them once. It wasn't pleasant.
They're not. They're don't ever glaze these assholes. There's bye, bitch. Glad you died. Is basically the correct way to view them. Um, so in 1989, US Air and Piedmont merge completely, and JIA turns into, and by extension Piedmont Commuter, turns into US Airways Express. Now, in November of 1995, because Piedmont and PSA were now owned by US Air, US Air needed to protect the trademarks that nobody could ever try and start up a better airline using well-liked branding. So they renamed a different carrier to Henson Airlines to Piedmont, and they renamed Jetstream International to PSA Airlines, which is the only
What?
tie-in. They did. It's been like that since. It's just so that you could have something labeled like that, which is why there's the little smile on there, because otherwise they would lose the trademark. Because fuck them. I hate
No.
them. That's it. Um,
No
P-
way.
Yeah, seriously. And then, just to make sure that they killed off any sort of branding whatsoever at all, Jetstream International Airlines, which keep in mind was named that because they had BAE Jetstreams, immediately was forced to sell off all their Jetstreams and buy Danye DO328s, which is another it's a turboprop aircraft built in
I
Germany.
Never even heard of that one.
They were around for a minute, and then they sort of turned into jet planes, and then they don't worry about it. It's not a common thing in the U.S.
Okay.
In 1997, US Air rebrands themselves into US Airways, which you can see here underneath the American Airlines logo. It's the because again, you always have to keep reskinning that thing so that passengers won't notice it's the same awful airline. Um, and PSA becomes parts of US Airways Express, um, which is down here. Um, in 2002, US Airways files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and reorganizes PSA into an all CRJ based airline, which is sort of where N709PS comes into at this point. Then in 2005, America West Airlines, which is a reasonably decent airline that managed to like successfully be an LCC based out of Tempe, Arizona, reverse merges with US Airways and basically decides that for whatever reason, the terrible and hateful branding of US Airways was better than America West. I don't understand this, and it must be MBA brain, even though I have an MBA. I don't get this one either. Um, I think it's because they wanted to show that they were a national carrier instead of just West, but really coward shit. Fuck you. They had a hub in Columbus, Ohio. Um, they And anyways, they kept the US Airways name, retired the America West branding. Although I would like to point out that apparently internally, um, everything in that merger went badly to the point where US Airways crews were still flying US Airways planes and routes, and America West crews were flying America West planes and routes internally. Like there was schisms within the company because of how badly they did that. It was really funny.
It's always good when you have any kind of merger like that and the two halves hate each other because they get each other's equipment.
And seniority spots and whatnot.
Oh, that's always ugly.
Yeah. Um, Meanwhile, we have to take a brief look over at American Airlines for a second to point out that in 2013, they ditched their iconic livery for a terrible one, which you can see right here.
Boo.
Anyways, in 2015, US Airways, by which I mean the entire America West management suite, because they did not keep anyone from US Airways on board, uh, acquires AMR Corporation, which is right here, which is the holding company for American Airlines, and basically merges everything together. So now US Airways is American Airlines, which is really America West. So America West has eaten the competition, sort of like how Texas International did. Um, PSA Airlines, we're still on this, becomes part of the American Eagle system of regional flights that American Airlines operates. And as of January of 2025, it owned 60 CRJ 700s and 80 CRJ 900s. And then just to add one more level of naming confusion to this,
Dude, what?
in 2021, Bombardier, as part of their general bad business practices to sort of like never succeed in anything, decided they were going to exit the commercial jet market altogether. They sold off the Dash 8s to, I think, Viking Aviation, or to have, which renamed itself to Havilland. But the CRJ program and the A2 the the C series was sold to Airbus, and the CRJ series was sold to Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, because Mitsubishi was at the time in its like 20th year of trying to make an airliner. And so they thought they could do this. And then they didn't, but they still own these now. So now, instead of the CRJ 700, it's technically on its type certificate the MHI RJ Aviation CL 600 2C10.
Does that okay, yeah, let's just make it even more convoluted and
So I
inaccessible to new people.
So yeah, basically they're just maintaining these aircraft until like, they're retired. There's no more CRJs ever going to be built, which I would say is good, but the alternative to this is the fact that the Embraer E-Jet is still around, and the ERJ 135145 is a hateful tube in the sky that was designed by someone who thought that 5'10" was an aspirational goal.
Made
So
just to spite you.
yes, I can't stand up in it. Actually, I can't take a shit in an ERJ.
Ooh.
I can't even take a shit in a CRJ, but like especially these tin cans of the sky. Imagine dying on a CRJ. That must be terrible. Uh,
They just pre-packed your casket. It's small enough.
yeah. But anyways, yeah, that's the long and convoluted story of how this jet and this airline got to be a thing. It's basically that in an effort to not have regional jets, to not have to fly mainline jets to the middle of fucking nowhere, all these companies have subsidiaries that nowadays they wholly own or mostly own, that have their own seniority track and own crews and own unions that are just there for that are just there to fly people to places that nobody else wants to go to, like Cleveland or Wichita.
So the other thing I'm taking away from this is that American Airlines seems to be the Borg of the airline industry.
Well, no, that's all of them. That's all of them at this
Oh
point.
God.
Really,
Okay, we're just focused on this one.
yes. Like
Okay,
you
my
can get
bad.
really like the only one that hasn't gone on a really like unhinged acquisition spree is probably like Southwest. And even then they bought two or
Yet.
three carry no, they bought two or three carriers in the
Yes.
1990s. But that
Yeah.
was all like keep and then they bought AirTran as well. So, but like you have to remember that technically United Airlines bought Continental, which meant that all of the Texas International stuff is technically on United's record nowadays.
Mm.
And Delta's bought a
Mm.
bunch of carriers too. And
Shoot
Frontier
a message to their official social media accounts and ask about
Retrojets, yeah, it'd be hilarious.
yeah.
American Airlines actually has a fantastic retrojet program. They have like 12 of them. Uh, for all their different carriers. Like they have a PSA one, they have an America West one, they have a US Air one, a bunch of them. Like it's actually pretty neat. Nobody else is really doing that. Although I would love to see a Northeast Airlines one that Delta has, but they don't do that because they're all Delta. Yay,
Womp
Delta.
womp.
But yeah, I cannot stress enough how much US Air is a hateful, vile airline that
It
deserves nothing
seems
but
to be.
it. US Air, like US Air, and someday we're going to talk about the crash of PSA 1771, and that is entirely because US Air was such a hateful, toxic airline that like it destroyed everything it touched. It's so like US Air also is bad at business. US Air bought PSA, which PSA was essentially like the state carrier of California at that point. They had like
Yes.
7 or 800 flights a day in California alone. And US
Yeah.
Air bought it, and then US Air proceeded to not do anything with that, get rid of all of their California routes, get rid of most of the planes they bought from PSA, and then retreat out of California entirely.
So they were early in the enshittification process.
Not even the enshittification, they just bought it and then left. Like, there's a reason why Southwest Airlines is so big in California, and it's because of US Airways just fleeing the scene of the crime.
They just filled that void.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's an old Southwest ad where they show, like where they talk about there used to be an airline that smiled, and now there's not, so we're here.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Dead serious. Like, when we get to PSA 1771, or PSA 182, either one of those accidents, there will be a long, unskippable cutscene that I will deliberately obscure the start and end of in the show notes that you can't miss
You
it.
motherfucker.
That will just be me telling you the history of PSA because this airline deserves so much more attention than it has.
All
But
right.
anyways, now that we've talked about the jet, which I just so that everyone knows, it was built in 2005. I don't have an hour figure for it, but that's it. That's all you really needed to know. All the rest of this is just window dressing. Now let's talk about the poor fucks who had to fly it. Zach, if you wouldn't mind talking about them, I have to go to the bathroom, so I'll be right back.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yep.
So this is another unfortunate situation in which we get to talk about these two poor schmucks who we have too many of these in these episodes and in NTSB reports in generals. These two poor souls were doing everything by the book and were severely punished by somebody else's stupidity. And I'm not even saying the helicopter crew uh, were solely at fault here. There was procedural stupidity just in how everything was set up around Ronald Reagan. On the left here, we have Captain Jonathan Campos. This guy had some hours. He had a total of 3,950 hours of flight experience, the vast majority of which, 3,024 hours, were on the CRJ 700. So he was very familiar with this. He was described by colleagues as a very, very smooth pilot and exceptional at flying. He had a clean record. He was familiar with this route and the approach to Ronald Reagan. Uh, he probably also knew how sketchy it was if he knew anything about the helicopter flight paths. And considering how many proximity alerts had occurred around Ronald Reagan Airport in the preceding years, and we'll touch on that just a little bit later. He probably knew that this wasn't the safest thing he could be doing, but it might have been all that he was able to do. Maybe the schedule worked better for him. Maybe it was all his seniority would hold. I don't know. But as far as we know, this guy was just trying to make a smooth landing like he had done, I don't know how many times
Thousands
before.
of times before.
Thousands of times. If he has that many hours, yeah.
Yeah, these
On
guys are
the,
more experienced than anybody in the army right now.
I mean, well, just right off the bat, that pilot has, off the cuff, about 1,400 more flight hours than the entire combined crew of the helicopter.
Yeah.
Just just the pilots.
Yeah. I think they almost had as many hours as they did in the last 90 days.
Did they tell us that one?
Yes, they did, because I messaged
158 hours in the last 90 days. That's more than anybody on
the helicopter
the
had.
helicopter in the last 60.
Yeah, or the last year, I think.
I can't remember. All right.
Right.
So
So
up next
is the flight. So JIA 5342
wait,
what?
we haven't talked about the first officer.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought we'd gotten through that.
No, I was lauding Captain Jonathan Campos. So, on the right we have First Officer Samuel Lilly, who similarly had a very clean record and seemed to be well regarded by his colleagues. A different captain said that he was standard to the T and incredibly sharp. This was a by the books first officer. This is who you want up in your cockpit. He had a career total of 2,469 total hours of flight experience, 965 of which were on the CRJ 700. Not as much as Captain Campos, but still enough to be rather familiar with the aircraft. Now, his total flight experience, 2,469 hours, you'll notice that that's not that much less than 2,571.2, which, again, is the combined total of everybody on that helicopter.
Yeah.
Both of these guys were reportedly well rested, or could assume to be well rested. They had clean records. They seemed to keep a fairly regular sleep pattern and were well equipped for what they thought was going to be a routine flight through the hell that is the approach to Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. Yeah, no. This is like, for these guys, it's just a day. Like, got to get up, go to work. Actually, no, they're in the middle of like a 5-day rotation around the country,
Yes.
I think. And they're just like, yep, today we're going to DC.
Oh, it's Wednesday or whatever day it was. I got to go to DC. I hate that. I hate dodging all the helicopters.
I don't even think they really. I'm not even sure if the helicopters really factor into it so much as the like just absolute hellscape that is this special flight rules area. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a pilot or a first officer, and you know about DC, which part do you hate the most before 2025?
Please let us know in the comments. I want to hear this.
Or email us at syddoywtw@gmail.com.
Get the engagement on YouTube.
Yeah, I know, but occasionally people don't want to because they might have a job.
Fair. Fair. If you want to send us an anonymous email, we promise we will not read any identifying details.
Yeah, we'll anonymize anything if you need it, if you need us to. So that's a journalistic promise.
Absolutely.
But now are we ready to go on to the next episode?
I believe.
Next
Next
slide.
slide?
Next slide. Shut up.
Whew, I'm not ready for the next episode yet. I haven't recovered from this one.
Right. So next slide.
Take the wheel. I got to go pee.
Oh, God damn it. Right. So flight JIA 5342, also known as AA 5342, was a regularly scheduled flight from Wichita Dwight Eisenhower. Is it Dwight Eisenhower? Wichita International Airport to Reagan National. This is a daily scheduled flight, leaves around 6 o'clock in the evening Eastern Standard Time, because the report gave all times in Eastern, Wichita is in Central. So that would be like 5:30 Eastern Time, something like that. It's Eastern Time, Central Time. I'm sorry. I'm obvious. This is the first time I've ever podcasted before. Can you tell? It was a daily flight. It had been instituted only about a year earlier, which was done after significant lobbying by literally everyone in Wichita. Of course, the most significant voices were the state's local government officials, like the governor, the two senators, and some of their Congress critters, because this is the only way you can get to Washington D.C. Because why would you ever fly from like Wichita to anywhere because the hub and spoke model is garbage if you don't live at a hub. So the flight had absolutely nothing wrong with it. Um, Either this flight or any other flight for that matter. Just a hop, skip, and a jump across the country, across Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Virginia into DC. And this is actually the FlightAware tracking for the flight on that day, on a January 29th. And so it has absolutely normal, had no real problems, and just went and God damn it, Zach, where are you? I need to hear your opinion on this, because there's nothing else really that
Oh, I had to top off the whiskey too. Oh, Jesus.
Whiskey?
I didn't expect it to crumble while I was away.
I
Yes, I got whiskey for this episode.
oh my God, I've been handed a slice of quiche, so this was especially poor timing on everything.
All right. Well, like you were saying, mute your microphone. Oh my God.
It's not. Can you hear it? I'm sorry.
Yes. Whoa. I apologize to every one of my listeners. Anyway, JIA 5342, like he said, should have been routine. There was nothing wrong with the plane. The crew was well rested. They didn't encounter anything unusual except a slight bit of weather coming out of Wichita, which they dodged fairly easily. It had no effect on the flight. It didn't break anything. Lightning didn't strike the plane and fry the electronics, which would have, who knows what all it would have done. But this was, I really don't know what else there's. This is like the
See how hard it is when there's one person who's not responding?
I did just fine. I don't know what your problem is.
Just for that, I'll chew into the microphone. No, I won't.
I quit.
This was generally regarded as a good thing for Wichita, and and required a lot less layovers. Although if you were going elsewhere on the East Coast, because it's the only flight to the East Coast, really, everything else was you had to jump.
Is it really? See, I didn't know that.
You had to like go through Chicago or Dallas or something, because nobody gives a shit about Middle America anymore.
Or Atlanta.
Yeah, or Atlanta. So if you were flying to the northeast United States, it was this flight and very little else.
See, I didn't know that one.
So yeah, on the specific, we're going to get to a specific date. It was January 29th, 2025, and I know this because I checked it several times. The flight left at 6 the flight left at 6:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, not Central Time, because everything in the report, as I already said when I was crumbling, was given in the report in Eastern Time. So now I'm going to try and finish shuffling this quiche
Do you
to my.
do you want to re-record that slide, or do you want to just keep it in there?
I don't know. I don't.
I vote keep it in. It makes us human.
It really does. Give me like 30 seconds. Hold on. Just start talking about something. Jesus fuck.
So this was January. It was late in the evening, so obviously it's going to be dark. So what might you need if you're flying a helicopter that doesn't have a glass cockpit and all the fancy heads-up displays and whatnot? You might need night vision goggles, and we're gonna get into this a little further. A few more slides down. I don't know how. Several slides down. Night vision goggles aren't great for flying. They aren't great. They're also not helpful if you're doing a check ride and you're nervous about the check ride because you had already fucked up once on the check ride, which Lobach had.
Yeah. I will point out though that this check ride was specifically for the night vision goggles, so you couldn't really
Oh,
get
even
around
better.
this. This was damn, that was a good quiche. Shout out to Costco quiches, I guess. But anyways,
Yo.
this flight was, everything about this was wrong in some way. And I'm not like, I'm from, and I would like to say, almost none of this came from the investigatory report, because the events of the flight were almost not really recorded. Most of this comes from the New York Magazine article called "The Last Flight of PAT 25," which PAT 25, Pat 25 is the flight number that this helicopter had. PAT stands for Priority Air Transport, because this was part of the continuance of government mission. So in the event of nuclear war, this would fly over and pick up the undersecretary of the Department of the Who Gives a Shit, and it would fly them to whatever the current hidey hole the US government has. Which is why you have to
Got to
have
keep
night
your
vision.
designated survivor alive.
Yeah, which is why you have to have night vision, which is why you have to be able to fly at night, which is why it probably has extra fuel tanks, all sorts of things. Um, so the flight originated at Davison Army Air Base, at Davison Army Airfield, Airfield, which was located inside Fort Belvoir in Virginia, which is this dot that says 0 on it, because I had to map this out in Google Maps to sort of understand exactly what they did that night. So
Seems like the kind of thing that should be included in an NTSB report.
let's not get into that.
I am not going to stop shitting on this report.
It really is not. It really is not great. Like, I went into it and I lost understanding of the accident.
This gave me a meltdown.
It talked about like various alternative forms of TCAS. Like, you can tell really that the NTSB not only didn't give a shit, they were also mad about this. Like, they were mad at like how their various recommendations had basically gone unlistened to. And so they're like, yeah, we told you about TCAS. We told you about this. We told you about that. It's like, but you're not helping me understand the accident. So anyways, they left at 6:45 p.m. So actually, right around the same time that the flight was taking off from Wichita, they were taking off from Davison Army Airfield. There, and they basically, it was basically going to be go around, do a couple maneuvers, do some landings and takeoffs, and basically just see if Rebecca Lobach was any good. Which, spoiler alert, she wasn't. She had already failed the check ride once before. She was, I think she'd been on like the military pilot version of a PIP at one point, a performance improvement plan. She was certified right now, but at the time, but like that was kind of a not certain thing.
Ooh,
And so this
no
was based.
pressure.
It wasn't even a pressure thing. It was more like just, you have to do this, but you can't fuck it up. I don't think she was worried about fucking it up. I think she was just like, she really was not in a position of knowing what she was doing as much as she thought she was. And I really don't want to sound like a jackass because this is like, you know, something that we're going to have to talk about. I don't know where we're going to have to talk about it, but the Department of the Army and a lot of the US military in general do not give their crews as much flight time as they really should have. Like, this is something that just continuously happens. Like, guys will get like the bare minimum of hours to keep their licenses, and that's it.
I
And
think
so
we'll
you
touch on that in about 10 slides.
okay, we have a spot. Good, remind me. So the first place that they took off from on this flight was they went from DAA all the way down here to Lignum Balls. No, I'm sorry. This is
Hello?
look down where the dot that says 40 is.
Yeah.
Lignum? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. No, it's actually so the flight so actually I apologize. Let me center myself here. Eves told his girlfriend before he left that he was actually worried about Lobach's capability as a pilot,
Oh,
which
that's
was not in the
oh
NTSB report. This is all from the magazine. Um,
no way.
yeah, seriously. Uh, they headed down towards. There's a little grass airfield by a greenhouse down here that's literally called Greenhouse Field. I'm not certain exactly what. I think it's in like, is this Culpeper? It's somewhere down here in the middle of fucking nowhere. But there was a general but the important thing down here is they did a couple touch and go, like touchdown, take, identified their route on their way back and then left. But the thing is that
Okay.
was mentioned in the Mag thing article was that most instructor pilots, when they did this, they tended to have their students fly in the south, like over like in the places where there wasn't anything. The route that they ended up taking on PAT 25, going up around Dulles Airport, all the way over to the top of DC, and then catching the Potomac and running south towards Davison, was not necessary. They did not have to do this. All they really needed to do was apparently like just make sure that Lobach was proficient with NVGs on. You did not have to dive straight through the middle the of the DCA approach patterns. That wasn't on the test. They were just doing this anyways.
That almost sounds like they're trying to set somebody up for failure.
No, Rebecca Lobach did that to herself.
Oh, for
That
God's come on.
no, she did that to herself well beforehand. So after we leave here, somewhere around, I want to say one of these one of the next two dots out by I-66, a master caution light comes on somewhere between 7:46 and 8 p.m. right over Thoroughfare Gap, which is I think an old Civil War battleground. Um, at somewhere between there and Hamilton, um, basically the master caution alarm went off. And this was not a test. Like something was actually wrong with the helicopter for a moment. It was for a malfunctioning tail fin. Uh, they started to run an emergency checklist and were able to reset the system without difficulty. However, um, Eves pointed out in the aftermath that Lobach was supposed to have pulled out the flight reference card and gone from it and referenced it directly rather than going from memory like she did.
No. No, they make those cards for a reason.
So she didn't pull out the card. Um and it just
Oh.
didn't go well. Immediately afterwards she complained of being lightheaded because one of the other things that she pointed out is while the flight over flight 53 Well, the flight was not a well. Flight 5342 was not experiencing any major turbulence in DC. It was windy as shit. The helicopter was getting tossed around all night, so she was either nervous about fucking up now that she had fucked up, or she was actively getting airsick. One of the two.
Or she could get the really weird thing where she's super sensitive to headaches from pressure changes, which
Possibly.
I've seen that happen.
Yeah, she said she was feeling a little dizzy looking down and with the wind. And so,
Maybe a combination of everything.
yeah. The next thing is that, and then the big thing as we get up to over here at the 120-mile mark, over by Olney, Maryland. Um
God, they went
Pace
everywhere.
They did go everywhere. I mean, it's a good training route, just not through the middle of DC. The what happened is that she fucks up. She actually seriously fucks up. There's a little helipad at what's called the Federal Support Center, which is an old Nike missile silo that's now like some sort of building for the government or something.
Hell yeah.
Um, she fumbles the landing. She fumbles the
Ooh,
landing hard, has to execute a go around, doesn't
ooh.
do the go around properly. Um, Basically tells Eves, "I'm not comfortable landing here," and makes him land the helicopter.
Oh.
Um, they decide to maybe they decided to cut it short and go back to base, but essentially at this point, Eves is not telling her this, but she failed the check ride.
Oh.
According to the New York Mag article, which I would like to say just is like this might be a little bit of uh this may be some artistic license, but he would have to give her a rating of unsatisfactory and put her on training status until she was able to demonstrate the necessary proficiency, but neither mentioned that fact. I'm willing to bet that they talked to some pilots and that's what some pilots said. Like based off of this, what they would have done in Eves's place.
I mean, yeah, probably. What's your standard procedure if this were to happen?
Yeah. Um, and at this point, they fly down to the Potomac and pick up Route 1 outside of Cabin John, Maryland, where the Route 1 sort of like starts on the outskirts of DC out by Bethesda and McLean.
Wait, Route 1 as in one of those weird helicopter
Route
routes
Helicopter
through.
1, yes.
Oh.
That's what they're on the entire way back. They're onto Route 1 until they're on top of DCA, at which point it transitions into Route 4.
Oh boy.
Um, and then I'll quote here from the New York Magazine article. As she flew down the river, Lobach was clearly struggling to stay in control of the aircraft. Eves nudged her to keep the helicopter in trim and to find the correct altitude. At
Oh
8:43,
honey.
they passed over the vice president's residence at the Naval Observatory, and she again complained about the turbulence. Um, the New York Magazine article also at this point states that she was very clearly behind the airplane, which at that point means that she's not acting proactively. She's reacting to what the airplane is doing and is not
Ooh.
like really flying it so much as suggesting what it does next. This is when you're behind
Oh.
the airplane. A lot of times when you'll hear the phrase "behind the aircraft" is usually in reference to a crash. You know, not always, but with the turbulence that's going on, she was behind the airplane quite a lot. They intimated that she was probably task saturated at this point, although I don't know for certain.
I've been there. That's a bad spot to
Yeah,
be.
same. She consistently was flying too high. She was at 300 feet altitude when she was supposed to be at 200. And this is something that was happening the entire time they flew down the Potomac. Eves kept trying to either. At one point, the article uses the word tease, but basically was like, "You're too high. You're too high. Come on, don't be a dumbass." And
Oh,
they would and as I put it in the end of the notes here, the helicopter would remain high until it suddenly wasn't anymore.
that's a hell of a way to put that, Joe.
Yeah, because it suddenly wasn't, but we'll get to that. Because
I
before that, as Rebecca Lobach fumbles her way in the green tinted dark towards DCA, we now have to talk about the tower at Dulles
wait,
at Reagan National Airport.
wait. I have a question.
I have an answer, hopefully.
I probably don't. I doubt this was documented. If she was doing that poorly and had already effectively failed the check ride, why was the instructor pilot not in control of the aircraft?
It's a great question.
I
Could could it be that he wasn't the best instructor? I don't know.
I okay. All right, I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit. I'll tell you right now, I have failed a check ride before. It's not fun. It's terrible. And the guy giving me the check ride saw that I was in a poor state, especially after he told me that it was over. So I wasn't even allowed to help him anymore. He just finished the work.
Nope. Apparently,
And
Rebecca
that's,
Lobach was allowed to fly it all the way back.
well, tried to at least.
Well, if it hadn't been for that meddling CRJ, she would have.
God. All right.
So,
Let's talk about this tower because these guys are
so I would
turbo
like to
screwed as
say,
well.
I would like to say that an air traffic control position is widely considered to be one of the most stressful jobs in the United States. DCA tower must be even worse. So, they are going through so much at any given point. Just to sort of start off, I would like to show this is the positions that people were occupying at the time of the accident. We've got ops supervisor, clearance delivery, ground control, assistant local control, and local control. Local control was combined with helicopter control, which at the moment was unstaffed.
Oh,
I
that's
also
cool.
would like to point out that the next image is the tower position rotated 90 degrees so that it's facing so that north is facing the correct way as the airport is. So you can sort of see
Okay.
this is how they would be standing where they were. So they'd be looking local control would be looking like down and to the left, to the right, basically to see incoming traffic. Um
Can I make a really wild reach,
yeah.
a wild prediction? I have a feeling that this might not have happened if Reagan hadn't busted the Patco strike.
Um I feel like if Reagan hadn't busted the Patco strike, a lot of things might not have happened.
I feel like
Like
this may be one of them.
I feel like at that point we'd be butterflying affecting so much that maybe Air Florida crashed into a helicopter here.
Fair point. Fair point. All right, I'll stop letting the whiskey talk.
Um, so DCA was in a north operation at that point, which meant that traffic was landing and departing runway 1 with intermittent arrivals to runway 33. Helicopter control was not staffed. Um, on average, there were 819 daily movements on runway 119, which is the most out of any single runway in the entire United States. You can see,
That's an insane number.
yeah, you can see here, like, and this is topping like to give you an idea, like LAX runway LAX right here, Newark, O'Hare, Newark again, like all the different runways. I would like to point out down here, San Diego is right here, 0927 at San Diego. San Diego only has one runway.
Yeah.
This is busier than San Diego Airport in its entirety, and it's just one runway at by almost a factor of 2 than like some entire airports. And San Diego is the busiest single runway airport in the United States. So to give you an idea of how bad things are.
Yeah, you're breaking me a little bit.
Yeah. Um so at the time of the accident, the authorized staffing was 28 certified controllers, 3 traffic management coordinators, 6 operations supervisors, 1 operations manager, 3 staff support specialists, 1 support manager, and 1 person whose title is only given as ATM. I don't remember what that was. I didn't copy that bit in. At the time of the accident, there were 5 controllers on duty, 1 one traffic management coordinator, one CPC, one controller in training, one supervisor in training. Okay?
All right.
And then ALC, ground control, and supervisor positions were each staffed individually by a traffic management coordinator, another certified controller, and an operations supervisor, respectively. Um, Helicopter and local controls were combined and staffed by a single certified controller, which was allowed. At the
Hmm.
time of the accident, there were 3 controllers and 1 controller in training on break, which means that I believe there's effectively 2 controllers in the tower,
The maths.
which is bad. The helicopter and local controller positions had been combined since 3 o'clock, 3:40 on the day of the accident. Um, the supervisor who was on duty at the time was not the one who combined them, but he felt the need that this was standard. He felt that this was standard, so he didn't like try to split it. Um, Also, basically at this point in time, and so keep in mind, so you've got one guy basically running the entire airport. Like you've got one guy who's doing local control for like 80 or 90% of the operations there.
One guy on the busiest runway in North
Yeah.
America.
Who
It's fine. I'm sure.
he's also doing takeoffs too. Don't forget that. Um the local
Okay.
controller stated that on the night of the incident there was an evening push around 8 p.m. of He believed that the workload at the time was decreasing. He described the traffic as a little complex around 10 to 15 minutes before the accident and stated that he was starting to become a little overwhelmed, but it became more manageable after 1 or 2 helicopters departed the airspace. When asked to rate the traffic volume and complexity as its position at the time of the aircraft, with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest, he recalled the traffic volume as a 4 and thought it was a little heavier than normal. The complexity was a 3 or
Oh,
4 given inbound traffic with varying needs, departing aircraft, helicopter traffic, and gusty wind conditions. There's another bit I didn't copy in, but basically he talked frequently about an idea about a sense of just having to push all through the day just to sort of get everything done.
okay.
So,
This touches on another problem with the FAA is that you are not allowed to have any kind of mental health issue ever. So you can't get anxiety or anything, and then we get situations like this where this guy is downplaying running one of the busiest airport or the busiest runway in North America by himself as just a little hectic.
well, he has an assistant.
Okay, so 2 guys are running the
He's
busiest
talking
runway and the airspace around it and
he's
the people
talking
on the
to
ground.
he's doing most of the work though. In the 17 minutes and
Ugh.
59 seconds before the collision, the LC controller was engaged in radio communication with aircraft, either speaking or receiving, for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, or about 49% of the time.
Ooh.
Um, For the 2 minutes before the accident, the controller was attending to radio communications for 72 seconds, or 60% of the time, which is this big chart down here on the bottom right.
Are these all flights he was talking to?
Yes.
Oh,
These are
wow.
either aircraft on the
There's
ground, in the air, or transitioning from one to the other, and the little hash signs are when he's actually talking to them. And if you'll also
My head
notice,
hurts just trying to
so
imagine this.
and then something else, so many of these are all from the same airline. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different PSA jets just by themselves. And then you've got like
And some very similar numbers in there too. Yeah, good luck
yeah,
keeping track of that.
and then everything in here that's green is a helicopter.
Yeah.
So those helicopters are doing something completely different to whatever the aircraft are doing.
Oh
And
boy.
he's occasionally having to route things to runway 33 as well.
No, this is too much. This
Yeah,
is
there's
there
a real.
should be more people up here. Oh my god.
Yeah, this is yeah, we've been systematically underfunding our air traffic control system for ages. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, just keep this in mind that at any given moment, he's talking to all of these guys. He's talking to helicopters. He's talking to Pat 25. He's talking to what are some other ones here? Uh, Blue. Keep in mind also that
It
uh PSA's call sign is Blue Streak for whatever. So he's talking to Blue Streak 5307, 5342, 5305, American Delta 832,
5164.
American 3130, American 1630, Muscle 7, American 472, ARCR1. I don't even know what that one is.
Yeah, no.
Blues JZA, I don't even know. That might be Jazz. That's like Air Canada. Um, so Jazz 789, Blue Streak 5164, JetBlue 2355. Yeah, it's just like names and numbers the whole way through. And he's doing this constantly in the dark, mind you. So just you're doing this
I
the whole time. And keep in mind that the spacing
oh,
isn't what he wanted. The
no, that's
spacing,
crowded.
we're going to have to talk about this in it. We're going to talk about this in 2 slides. So stick with it. The spacing isn't what he wanted. Um, Next slide is the radio transmissions. Uh,
Hell yeah,
so
that's a good stock image.
to give you an idea, apparently one of the things wrong with the helicopter was just that its radio fucking sucked. But also, um, which basically it meant the transmissions coming out of PAT-25 were very staticky and hard to hear, and and also oftentimes incomplete. And then on top of that, we have to talk about a thing called a heterodyne. Do you know what a heterodyne is, Zach?
No.
A heterodyne is basically what happens when two people on the radio are trying to talk to each other at the same time, and it ends up just coming out like a squeal.
Oh, yeah, I know what that
That's
is.
what
I just didn't know that name
it's
for it.
called a heterodyne. This is actually what caused the Tenerife disaster in Spain, because
Okay.
with that one, the Pan Am and KLM flights were both trying to talk to the tower at the same time, and it meant that the tower heard nothing. Uh, so
Okay.
so a bad radio and it's also called being stepped on, basically meant that um the helicopter crew heard very little of what was going on with any of the other flights out there, which is sort of what you're supposed to do when you're flying into one of these areas. You're supposed to keep an ear open and basically be listening and building a mental model of what's going on around you.
Yep.
Um, except that it also needs to be pointed out that they're only hearing the conversations from the tower because helicopters and incoming airplanes are on different frequencies.
Excuse me?
Yes. They're on different frequencies. So the pilots of the flight 5342 had no idea what the helicopter was doing unless they heard the tower talking to them, and the helicopter pilots had no idea what any of the airplanes around them were doing unless the tower was talking to them.
This
So
whole
at some
this whole
point,
situation is institutionally bad, isn't
yes,
it?
at some point, radio interference basically caused the transmission uh, of flight 5342 take runway 33 to just not be heard, and so they missed it. They did not, and this is something again that I will talk about in a little bit. Um, Pilots of helicopters are not really familiar with approaches to runway 33, so
Makes sense. They don't
they don't
have
use
to
runway
use that.
33 that often. So they really didn't, even if they had a mental model of what was going on, they wouldn't have known exactly what to expect because they didn't hear the word circling. So this is bad. They just didn't know. The NTSB concluded that due to degraded radio reception, the crew of PAT 25 did not receive salient information regarding Flight 5342's circling approach to runway 33. And so basically, they didn't know what the fuck was going on. They were going into this effectively blind. Isn't that fun?
Uh, the, everything that's wrong with this, I think, is summed up with that first sentence of the last paragraph there. Clear and effective communication is essential for safe ATC operations and pilot situational awareness.
Yes. Um, Anyways, now we have to go on to the next slide, which is this is a picture of basically the circling approach to runway 33. Okay, versus the approach to runway 1. Runway 1 is a fairly straightforward straight in approach that you just basically descend until you hit the runway.
Straight down the river.
Runway
Straight up the
33,
river.
the approach doesn't sound that more difficult, but you're essentially flying it by hand. Um and it's not a great approach. Like pilots don't really like it that much, but it's basically what happens when there's not enough spacing between a jet coming landing on runway 1 and the jet directly behind it. So air traffic control will send someone to circle around and land at 33. It's not uncommon, but it's not normal either. This is something that's like, oh god, we have to do 33, fuck. That sort of thing. And I don't have the transcript, but I believe the crew of flight 5342 were like, yeah, okay, fine. They weren't thrilled about it either because it's more difficult.
Yeah.
But anyways, if you want, Zach, if you take a look at the notes for this one, I have a sentence, I have a paragraph here copied in from the report. Pilots of the 12th Aviation Battalion reported that it was not typical to see traffic landing on runway 33, and those who had encountered airplanes on approach to runway 33 reported they had been instructed by ATC to hold until the traffic had landed.
Okay.
However, pilots interviewed generally believe that if their helicopter remained at or below the published maximum altitude on Route 4, they would have adequate clearance from airplanes landing on runway 33. Go back to that slide where they're
Okay.
like 75 feet at most away from an airplane.
Oh.
And so, but again, want to point this out, most of the time, and I covered this in the next slide as well, most of the time, pilots of helicopters assumed that they would be told to hold and wait for runway 33 approaches and also hadn't really experienced them before.
Oh.
So keep
So
in mind that coming into this situation is Rebecca Lobach, who is most thoroughly not having a good night.
flustered as hell.
Flustered,
Probably assumes that if there's traffic going in there, she would have been told to hold. So if
flustered, yeah,
she's not being told to hold, then there's no traffic
yeah,
going towards 33.
flustered, airsick, not having a great night, is probably self-recriminating about whatever the fuck she did wrong already, and is behind the airplane. And she's
Fuck.
had 4 hours in the past month.
Shit.
She is not having a good day, but don't worry, it can only get worse because
Oh,
there has been a general rule that the way to handle helicopters crossing aviation traffic like this is with visual separation. Which would you
this
like to
scares me.
would you like to I apologize for the blocks of text, but this is really important. Would you like to read section 1.7.6.2, Zach?
The FAA's pilot controller glossary contains the following definition of a visual separation. Visual separation, a means employed by ATC to separate aircraft in terminal areas and en route airspace in the NAS, National Airspace System. There are two ways to effect this separation. A, the tower controller sees the aircraft involves and issues instructions as necessary to ensure that the aircraft avoid each other. B, a pilot sees the other aircraft involved and, upon instructions from the controller, provides his or her own separation by maneuvering his or her aircraft as necessary to avoid it. This may involve following another aircraft or keeping it in sight until it is no longer a factor. And then
Now,
it directs you to also see the separation or see the definition for see and avoid.
yeah, that is one of the primary tenets of general aviation is see and avoid and visual flight rules. Do you want to know what happens when you are flying at night is you can't see shit. And keep in mind they're also using night vision goggles. and and here's the better part. They're flying over a fucking city. So there's all this sort of light pollution from the ground.
All these little pinpoints of light, any one of which could be an aircraft.
Yeah, and they're moving.
You
I'm
got to
gonna
try to
just
filter it out.
Yeah, I'm just going to go through some of these things. The ECV team, I don't know who that is, observed many instances in which helicopters flew in close proximity to arriving fixed wing aircraft and traffic information was not issued to either aircraft. They also identified instances where fixed wing traffic was not advised regarding helicopters operating in close proximity to the final approach course. These were not instances in which a safety alert was required to be issued. They noted in November 2024, they noted a few occurrences in which the LC controller advised aircraft on final approach that helicopters operating near the final approach course had them in sight and were maintaining visual separation. However, at the time these transmissions were made, the helicopter had not reported the traffic in sight and had not been advised to maintain visual separation. The LC controller appeared to be anticipating that the helicopters would visually acquire the arrival traffic, report traffic in sight, and then be instructed to maintain visual separation. And that's what happened. They were asking Pat 25 if they had the traffic in sight right up until the moment of the accident, and Pat 25 didn't respond because Pat 25 didn't really have the traffic in sight. They were I'll show you in the there's two slides from now. I've got a great image of what this is going to look like, but they were looking at the wrong airplane in the they were told, do you have CRJ in sight? Which, first of all, hilarious that it's like telling them to look at a CRJ in the dark. Um, and second of
Do you?
all, this
It's like
is
asking, do you have an F-150 in sight on the freeway?
yeah, and second of all, landing and second of all, they're doing this in the dark. So they're all just pinpricks of light.
I hate this.
So um and then here we go. Pilots of the 12th Aviation Battalion reported it was not typical to see traffic landing on runway 33, and those who had encountered airplanes to approach to runway 33 reported they'd been instructed to hold at Haines Point. I would also like to point out the Coast Guard also had the same thing happen. But they were told, yeah, hold at a lot of these points. Um, the the bridge, a standardization pilot for a different battalion was told and reported to the NTSB that between January 2023 and January 2024 I'm sorry, I'm reading this wrong. Estimated that in 4 years, nearly 1,000 flight hours in the DC area, he had flown Route 4 about 200 times and encountered traffic landing on runway 33 less than 10 times. Okay?
That's not very familiar with how that looks.
And then another pilot estimated that same pilot estimated that fixed wing traffic crossed the east bank of the Potomac make a few hundred feet above his altitude while flying on Route 4. It had never even crossed his mind that he might conflict with traffic landing on runway 33. However, every time he'd been nearing the final approach path for runway 33, Reagan Tower had asked him to avoid crossing the flight path. So, yeah, they'll go over us, but don't worry, we'll be told to hold. And then 3 captains and a first officer for PSA, all of whom were based at DCA, were interviewed regarding their knowledge of the helicopter routes in DC. Only one, who was previously a military pilot in the area, knew about the helicopter routes. The other 2 pilots had no knowledge of the helicopter routes, although one of them said that he saw helicopters all the time. He didn't know there were specific routes, and he reported that having additional information about the routes would have enhanced pilot awareness on the operations in DCA. So basically, yeah, I don't know where all these helicopters keep coming from, but it would be nice to know where.
Oh,
Essentially, what was happening in the moments leading up to this accident is that Rebecca Lobach was flying directly towards the accident site. It was flying towards the scene of the crash, being told, "Do you see the CRJ in sight?" And I think Eves was saying on the radio, "Yes," and he was looking at the wrong airplane because nobody was looking at the right airplane. Um, I would also and then we're going to go into the next slide here, which is a heat map using, I don't actually know what kind of data it is of, oh my fucking god, did it move the circle in Google? Did I move this image in Google Slides? The circle is supposed to be around right here. I apologize. Let me They're
Quick,
supposed.
quick! You already have to edit this episode once. You can save it again.
No, I just drew it in. Don't worry about it. I drew the circle where it's supposed to be. I must have moved the image and not moved the circle with it. We're a professional podcast. But this is depicting the frequency of encounters between arriving and departing airplanes and helicopters flying on routes 1 or 4 at altitudes from 500 to 1,000 feet from January 2018 to February 2025. You'll notice the giant
That's.
red splotch right at the base of runway 33's approach. Oh, this is
And I
so.
also noticed the other splotch right there. Oh,
This is so fucking bad. But anyways, this isn't even the worst bit.
oh.
So we're going to go into the next thing. So this image up here is a still from the video that the NTSB put out about the collision, right? Okay. Can you see either through the NVG or just through any of the rest of this where the CRJ is? I promise you it's in this image somewhere. The answer is you can't.
I was about to say no.
You can't. Also, you can see here, Pat 25, do you have that CRJ in sight? Pat 25, and then you can see how it's like stamped on pass behind that CRJ. And then they have an aircraft in sight request visual separation. They don't fucking see shit. They see this dot over here. And then this image down here is actually, I believe, done by a local NBC station in Washington, D.C., where they held an iPhone up to the lens piece of a night vision goggle.
Yeah.
Do any of these images of these aircraft right here, these 3 dots right here, let me circle them again. Do any of these look like they are further apart than the others?
No.
No. The
No.
NVGs compress your frame of vision like they have a limited field of view. They have a 40-degree field of view as opposed to like the 280 degrees that your eyes have. So you have to just sort of figure it out. And keep in
Oh.
mind that Rebecca Lobach is behind the ball on what the airplane is doing. She is at least 70 feet too high. And she is not, and they are completely unaware of what is happening. They have no idea that there is a CRJ bearing down on them. So we're going to go to the next slide.
Listener, if you can't tell, this is a very Joe-led episode, and part of that is because I got completely lost and had a minor meltdown trying to interpret this NTSB report. So a lot of this is new to me as it is being presented to you pretty much effectively simultaneously. And I want you to know that every red flag that I have about safe operations and policies and procedures are going up right now, and the safety sensitive side of my brain is tweaking so hard.
I'm shocked this has
I
only happened
hate
once.
this. I am too. This is pure luck. It has to be pure luck.
Yeah. Every day we roll the dice 1,000 times and it only happens once. But anyway. Next slide is a video. It's the video right here. So I want you guys to tell me when you see the CRJ. Okay? Do you see the CRJ yet? Do you see the CRJ yet? Do you see the CRJ yet? Do you see the CRJ? You're not going to see the CRJ. There's the CRJ.
Oh, that CRJ.
And that's basically it. Do I have... Okay, here, let's... Just for shits and giggles here, let's go over to the bit... Let's see, where... Yeah, Zach, go to like 753 in the video. Like, start the video again and go to like 753.
751.
Because according to the report, the air traffic, the CVR tapes, the flight crew of the helicopter had no inkling that what happened to them, basically. Oh, hold on. I have to go back. Damn it.
Okay.
So 753, I'm going to hit start right now. Just tell me when you see the helicopter.
Let me see. I didn't go back with you, so I'm a little bit ahead at this point.
It's fine. It's just tell me when you see the helicopter.
Okay, I see him banking to approach the runway.
It's
I see a circle that tells me where the helicopter is. Maybe I can't really tell. Maybe that's a helicopter there. That's just that's a helicopter right there. Oh, 844.
Yeah.
Probably 843 in the video. Oh. Okay. At least they didn't know, I
No, they had
guess.
the last thing in the here. Oh god damn
Oh
it.
no, I saw that.
Yeah, the last thing in the video is let's see, yeah, is sound of click, O expletive, O in louder voice sounds consistent with impact.
Yeah.
The last inputs on the stick, according to the flight data recorder, was them frantically hauling back on the stick to try and get altitude. They had about 1.5 seconds worth of warning, and that was it. And so, yeah, this is the collision slide. This is the this is what happened. They at
They
exactly at 8:47 and I think like 20 seconds, the planes collided with each other. The aircraft collided with each other over the Potomac. For the 20 seconds beforehand, there had been a traffic collision alert sounding in the control tower
yes,
that
you
the
could hear
controller
it in a recording.
just did not see or hear because they were too busy dealing with 17 airplanes all at the same time going through the evening push. When 8:47:59 is when the exact collision happened. 8:47:59. The helicopter exploded and crashed into the Potomac River. The airliner was doing 128 miles an hour and just it broke up and nosedived into the Potomac. They were 270 feet above the water when it happened. Predictably, everybody on board died, which
Yeah.
was a total of 64 people on board the plane and 3 people on the helicopter.
Joe, is there
So,
anybody notable on that plane?
we haven't gotten to that slide yet, but yes, there were. There was a colonel from the Philippine National Police who was on board, which I found really interesting. He was on his way back from like a body armor manufacturer site
There was a
visit.
couple of foreign nationals on there, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, a couple Chinese people as well.
French, Polish,
Yeah.
Danish guy.
Yeah. You always wonder about the one foreigner on like an internal flight. It's like, how did you get here? It's like, let's not find out.
This one at least makes sense.
Yeah. But anyways, now we go on to the aftermath side, which you put all this stuff in. So I would like you to sort of take the lead on this one, Zach.
Absolutely. So this is how things ended up. The Potomac River is shockingly shallow at this point. I believe I read that all of the equipment was in 1 to 8 feet of water.
Yeah, the
And that
Potomac
was
is
it.
not that deep.
No,
It's
it
not
isn't.
a
It is
really
not.
navigable river.
Which, I mean, I guess is kind of evidenced by the fact that we don't see any large boats in this picture here.
Yeah.
Or I don't know the timing of it. Maybe it was locked off or something. But with only an 8-foot draft, I'll bet you nothing big's going up that river. So the southernmost piece we have is the bulk of the wreckage of Pat 25, the helicopter that landed closer to the east bank, a couple of 100 feet north, probably 600 feet north, and maybe 100 feet west of that is the left wing of Flight 5342. And then another 100 or so, maybe 200 feet north, and probably 100 feet west of that is the rest of Flight 5342. Uh, these just kind of landed in the river, almost fell straight out of the sky. It seems like, despite their speeds, momentum didn't carry them all that much further.
Yeah,
So
it
hit
well,
that.
it really they just just
Yeah,
really just like down.
yeah. All that momentum was just lost, and it went down.
Yeah.
Can you go to the next set of pictures?
Yep.
So here's what investigators found. First, we're going to look at damage that was evident on the aircraft itself. Um, just forward of the engines and kind of behind the area of the slight sweep back of the wings. On the fuselage itself, they found one of the tail rotors for from the helicopter. It's just straight up embedded in the aircraft. On the right side, there is a this top picture is the forward facing edge of the left wing of the aircraft, and it has a giant dent in it. Now, if you know anything about aircraft, there's not supposed to be a giant dent in that.
No.
So it hit pretty hard. The lower photo on the right is just a different angle of the same piece, um, very clearly showing a large dent and lots of paint transfer,
Yeah.
which oddly enough kind of looks like the same black that the military usually paints their helicopters
Yeah,
in.
olive drab green, I believe it's what it's technically called.
How unusual.
Yeah.
Who knows how that could have happened? Let's go to that next set of pictures. Oh, is that an OD green helicopter?
Yeah.
Yeah, the helicopter landed much less gracefully. On the left is the bulk of the aircraft. It kind of landed upside down, but the whole tail section also kind of twisted, presumably on impact with the river floor. I mean, you could see how shallow it is. This thing is more, if it's not more out of the water than it is in, it's pretty close to
The
50-50.
the tail wheel didn't even get wet.
Yeah. You can see everything sitting on the riverbed there. Uh it just kind of like rolled over and died.
Yeah.
Not very far from the impact point.
Helicopters are very top heavy. That's why they usually roll over when they hit water.
Yeah, if anything goes bad, they just flip.
So, yeah.
Uh, the right side photo is the rotor from the tail. Uh, this one is missing three of its blades, one of which is in the fuselage of Flight 5342. Uh, the others presumably got shredded upon impact. And I do find it interesting that there is one whole blade there still mostly intact, which makes me wonder if maybe that was the first one to graze and didn't didn't quite get a full brunt of the impact, but the other three definitely hit hard enough to just shred them to pieces, tear them off. And if I had to guess, it was enough of a shock to stop turning that rotor entirely before that one remaining blade circled back around and could hit the airplane again, or the airplane cleared
Yeah.
as much as it could have before that
Hmm.
one blade came back around.
Yeah.
And it it was odd. It was an oddly hard investigation from what I can tell. Um,
I wonder
the
why.
yeah, the altimeters from both aircraft were shot. The readings that were showing on them varied from one side to another and were damaged enough that it couldn't be determined whether or not this variation happened before or after the incident. I believe the helicopter was recorded as having a variance between the altimeter on the left and the right side, but
Yeah, there was some
not
shit
a
wrong with
significant
there was a
amount.
lot of shit wrong, like minorly wrong with the
A
helicopter.
bunch of little stuff, not enough to cause this.
Yeah, no, like as much as you would like to know the hell, like from reading the NTSB report, you get the sense the helicopter was a pile of shit, but really it was just like moderately maintained helicopter bumbles into a situation that it could have been anybody. It could have been a brand new one off the line.
Yeah.
Could have been
And
Marine One, really.
yeah, even the NTSB report states that all of these were too infiltrated by river water and silt to determine if there was an issue with that equipment.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Uh, there was a cleanup, and that was about it. They couldn't tell much more except from what was already super obvious based on the wreckage. So we need to get into what happened after that.
Do I hit the next button?
Next button.
Ah!
Uh,
That went so
uh,
quickly. That was so fast.
surprise. Trump absolutely fucked up the response to this one.
Yeah, President Trump, who had been in office for less than 9 days.
Yes, had a reputation to repair and uphold, and who are we kidding? He didn't fucking care. Immediately, he said that the issue was DEI, and if you don't know what that is, it is diversity, equity, and inclusion, or inclusivity. I can't remember which one, but basically,
Woke.
he blamed it on woke. The only reason that Lobach was piloting was because she was a woman, and she was forced through all of this training and shouldn't have been there and didn't belong there because she was a woman. This was blatantly untrue.
I
I
don't
hate to talk
remember
shit.
offhand, but
I
I thought that Lobach had joined the army under his presidency,
Yes, I do remember that.
under
Uh,
his first
I
administration.
I really don't want to. Who am I kidding? I'll talk shit about the dead. The issue wasn't that Lobach was a woman. It was the fact that she was a pilot that was not given as much training as she should have been, and as such was a shitty pilot.
Yeah.
There's there's no other thing to it. But Trump used this as a tool to try to vilify DEI, and the whole idea of it. Um, he said that the DEI goals supported by former presidents Biden and Obama may have been to blame for the crash, stating that they actually came out with a directive. It's too white. So
Everyone on the helicopter was whiter than me.
every, I would say whiter than me, but that's kind of hard. I'm pretty pale. Uh, it was, he tried to use, immediately tried to vilify not the institutional problems that led up to this, but imaginary
Yeah. And
imaginary boogeymen,
it's even
basically.
better. He did it before there was even an indication that there was something wrong with the government. This was just his default.
Oh yeah. Just straight to that. He criticized the FAA for targeting people with various disabilities for various positions within the FAA, some safety sensitive and some not. It
It also should be
it
noted
was
that since that after the accident, before the publication of the report, there was all the this is for future historians. This is for like all of the Elon Musk Doge government streamlining initiatives,
oh
all of the general civil service chaos, all of the other stuff. It was not good. I imagine that it tanked morale quite significantly. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff in here that the NTSB has probably been howling about for years. So, yeah, it's a
yeah.
reason why this report is dog shit.
Yeah, it was bad enough that this actually got a rather drastic response to the whole idea that this could be blamed on DEI. Um, Notably, Captain Sullenberger, who landed the plane on the Hudson,
Which,
responded to Trump saying that an airplane cannot know or care about a pilot's race or gender, but can only care about what control inputs are made.
do you want to know something fun about Sullenberger?
Absolutely.
He is the one positive contribution to U.S. Air because he was originally hired by PSA. The original
Just holding on to
PSA.
that seniority, huh?
The original PSA hired Chesley Sullenberger after he was done with, I think, the Air Force or the Marines, and he's just been working his way up through US Air and into, and that was why he was there. It was all PSA. PSA is still good.
Mm. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy
Oh,
said that he
fuck
thought that
him.
this, yes, said that he thought that this was preventable because it would have been prevented if they were hiring the best and brightest, not just DEI hires. Again,
They
absolutely
hired
unrelated.
Sean Duffy. How can that be best and brightest?
I do you think he has to prove how much hairspray he goes through a month
I don't know.
to get the job? Pete
It's
Hegseth also notably used this as justification to end DEI within the Department of Defense. I'm not. I think I'm going to side with Joe on this one. I'm not going to call it what they're calling it now. It's the Department of Defense.
yeah. It really annoyingly, the NTSB report actually had a line where they said that anything before the name change would be DOD and anything afterwards would be DOW, and I was just like, I will strangle you through this report.
Yep. Yep. They argued that this crew was well experienced and should have absolutely known what they're doing, despite having a total combined flight hours less than the flight hours of the aircraft itself.
Yeah.
It it was bad. This was used to absolutely twist and manipulate facts into a narrative that they're proposing that DEI is bad and that women are dumb and evil. I it is hard to find. I tried to search for this. I remember there was a lot of speculation that Lobach was transgender, and
There
that was supposed to
was.
be part of the issue right there because they had a trans pilot on there, and it was absolutely disgusting.
Because they were trying to make, because this is before they announced the names of the crew and everything. And so it was like, oh, it's a trans person. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. No, it was absolutely disgusting, and it was an omen of what was to come and what is still to come, because we are just over a year into this term of
Oh, no.
President Trump, and
No,
it's
we're more
going to
than
get
that
worse.
now. We're like 14 months.
Just over a year, yeah.
Things can only get worse. It's felt like
Yeah.
10.
Yes, it has. Oh, it's God.
I would like to get
It's
off.
been so long.
I would like to get off Mr. Bones' wild ride.
Yes, please. Somebody hit the e-stop on this.
But yeah, do we go on to the next slide now?
I'll
Is
I'll
there
end this
anything
one.
more? I'm sorry.
No, there is not. I'm just going to end it with the White House's response to this was fucking disgusting. Oh, and okay, last thing. This is super quick. I forgot about this. I had to look back at the Wikipedia page. Trump said that he would meet with the families of victims, but acted offended when asked if he was going to visit the site of the accident.
I remember that, yes.
During a briefing. And he responded with, "What's the site? The water? You want me to go swimming?" No,
Yeah.
you tactless buffoon. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Next slide. Next slide. I'm going to take a good pull off this drink while you start on this one.
Oh boy. So, if you really, really want to know why, like, obviously this is tragic. Obviously this is bad. But if you really want to know what, like, the real impact of this was, because nothing
Joe, why
else,
are there so many kids right here?
because in January of 2025, Wichita hosted the US Figure Skating Championships,
All right.
which was
Cool.
basic, and afterwards there was a development camp for all the kids who could skate good. So basically, all of US figure skating's best and brightest were in Wichita for an extra 3 days.
All
And
right.
then anybody who lived on the East Coast, anybody who was with the figure skating clubs of DC, Northern Virginia, Delaware, Boston, or I think a couple of other ones who I don't know where they were from. They
All right.
they all booked the same flight
Makes sense.
they all booked flights back home, and it was all flight 5342.
Oh
28
shit.
28 young figure skaters, like under the age of 18. Their parents and their instructors were all on this plane flying back. You can see right here, this is an Instagram screen. This is a screenshot that I took because I was watching this as it happened live on
Ooh.
TV, which is why I'm so involved with this, because I know I've been with it since like 45 minutes after it happened. This is the Instagram.
It's true.
This is the last Instagram story that Spencer Lane ever posted, which was him sitting in the window seat, in like near where the helicopter impacted.
No, yeah, that's right by where the tail rotor.
Yeah, where
Oh.
the right near where the tail rotor impacted. Spencer Lane was a talented young figure skater, and he posted this saying he was going from ICT to DCA. What ICT is Wichita's airport code, and this is the first indication that anybody had of exactly how many people were on this plane when it crashed. And this decimated a huge chunk of not the 2026 Winter Olympics figure skating crowd, but the ones who are going to the French Alps in 2030. This is a lot. You can see
Jesus.
these down here, Angela Yang and Sean Kay. They look very young. They look like under 15. Um, a lot
I'd
of the
be shocked if they were teens.
Yeah, I don't want to ponder that, but everyone on this page, in this one graphic, died. The one of the more big name ones was Vadim Namov and Evgenia Shishkova, who were both former Russian figure skaters who defected to the US. Their son Maxim, for whatever reason, I don't know if he decided to drive home or stay an extra day. He was not on the plane. He is now
Oh
orphaned. He
god.
gave There was a memorial performance immediately after this in DC that he gave a quite emotional performance for, and then he performed at the Winter Olympics. um he just made it, as if they say like he just managed to make the team, as if they were gonna not let him. And
Yeah, right.
he brought the house down with like this very emotional performance where he was skating basically for his parents. He didn't come close to winning. That was uh but also all the other big names in US figure skating, like Ilya Malinin and all the other people whose names you learned because of the Olympics, they were there. They were there.
Oh no.
Like if Ilya Malinin had been an East Coaster instead of wherever the hell it was that he lived, he could have been on this fight. He would have been dead too. Um, this was like the entire East Coast division of the youth skating in the US. And so we're going to have to come up with some people. There's going to be a memorial thing in 2030 that nobody's going to remember why, because they'll have been dead for 5 years at that point.
Oof.
And so yeah, this is real. This is bad. I keep saying things like this. This is really, really bad. And it all
Well, did we at least learn anything?
fuck no.
Oh.
So so uh, we start off with so actually no, I would like to rephrase that. Did we learn anything? Fuck no. We did learn one thing, which is that as of March 18th, 2026, which is 3 days ago, the FAA ended the use of see and avoid for helicopters near busy airports.
That
Um,
took over a year to figure out?
Yeah, the notice, which takes effect immediately and remains in effect until later this year, requires air traffic controllers to actively manage the flight paths that helicopters and commercial planes take around busy airports. Um, this basically they only started doing this now. We actually, you'll notice that this took 3 weeks to come out instead of two. It's because we all had breakdowns, but we would have missed this if it hadn't. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically that is literally the only thing we have learned. If we go to the next slide after that, um, no, actually, we didn't learn anything, um, because this top thing here, Pentagon pressure sinks air safety bill in House. The Rotor Act, the Rotorcraft Operations Transparency and Oversight Reform Act, was a Senate bill aiming to enhance aviation safety, particularly around DCA, by mandating ADSB equipment on all military helicopter on basically all helicopters, including military ones, which the Pentagon did not like. The Pentagon also didn't, because, fuck them. And also the Pentagon didn't like as well that there was an immediate closure of Route 4 and 1 in DC, which I'm not certain if they're back open yet. I believe they are, but essentially this is still happening.
We as a country have a problem with doing anything preventative. Proactiveness is not
Well,
in the national vocabulary.
actually, no, this would be a perfect thing to do because usually we learn something when people die. But this is a really rare instance in which people have died quite violently and on camera. There's several videos we didn't put in of basically videos on the ground of this happening. Uh, and still nothing happens, which is new. This is a Trump
Yeah,
admi this is an
fair.
this is the Trump administration, basically.
Yeah.
People have died, terribly so, and what are we doing about it? Nothing.
We're well, no,
We're
we're
no,
doing
we're
something
calling
about
the
it. We're
we're call
firing the people.
yeah, we're calling them woke and cuck.
Yeah, firing the people who make
Yeah,
recommendations on how to make things
yeah.
safer.
Yeah, Todd Inman, who was an NTSB board member, says he was fired by the White House. I'm not details aren't yet completely out, but basically the Trump administration said they fired him after receiving highly concerning reports of inappropriate alcohol use in the job, harassment of staff, misuse of government resources, and failure to attend at least half of NTSB meetings. Inman says that he did not do these things. I'm sure it will come out in some inevitable lawsuit that will be dismissed by Clarence Thomas.
Got to get another RV, buddy.
At
Do
this
what you got
point,
to do to get that
I
extra
hope he
RV.
gets a private helicopter.
You know what? Yes, let's all chip in and buy a very lightly used helicopter for Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, and
Maybe he can get up in the air and have a really good time in that helicopter.
yeah, I hope so. But yeah. So did we learn anything? No, we really didn't.
God, even the slight thing we learned is just
Don't do that.
the ending of See and Avoid is
Temporary.
temporary.
It's don't do that.
Late 2026.
And even
What's
then,
going to
that
happen
just
after that? They're just going to go back to the old way.
and even then, it just means that now the overworked controllers are going to have to be manually giving routings to everybody, which is going to be so much more useful when somebody forgets where his place and basically directs two helicopters into each other, or two planes and a helicopter into each other.
Yeah,
Like
you know damn well they're not putting another
like
guy up there in the
I
tower to
I
help out with
assume
this.
I assume we have all seen the Breaking Bad episode where the two planes hit each other. Just that, but in real life.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's
I
will we learn anything? No.
fucking hate everything around this.
Yeah, we will never learn. Nothing
No,
will ever learn. And on
nope.
that
Gotta keep.
depressing note, it is time to end. That is the end of this podcast.
Thank God.
I apologize that we almost broke us.
You're not sorry. You live on this kind of madness.
Okay, I apologize to you, Zach, because I did not realize this would break you. I don't
Fair
care
enough.
about myself usually in that meaning, but this was just really bad. This was not a well formatted report in the slightest. Our next episode, I am not giving you a spoiler because that way we can change it if need be. I'm never doing that again, ever, ever. But
We could just steal a WTYP thing where
I'm
we
not
mention an
stealing.
incident.
I'm not stealing that bit because I've wanted a Chernobyl episode now for like several years. I'm
Yeah, that's
also
fair.
really mad that the Boston molasses flood episode, the live show, got corrupted. I would have loved to have heard that one.
Me too.
That's why I had to bootleg one of the WTYP live shows.
All right.
I did it remotely. I had someone else hold the phone up for 2 hours.
Nice. All
But
right.
yeah, just another general call. Did you almost die on your way to work? Please let us know at syddoywtw@gmail.com. And yeah, is there anything else, Zach? Do we have anything else to do? Can we end this? Can we stop this?
I think it's time to get off of this wild ride.
Yep, let's let's bring this to a stop. Let me stop.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Yeah, let me stop OBS. There we go. We have been 3 hours 25. Hey, this isn't even our longest one.